Hey, this is Zach from Dark Horse Tackle. Just got home from participating in the May slot limit tournament. Congratulations to John and Brody, first and second. You guys did a hell of a great job. I am all very interested and astounded by how entering a slot limit tournament almost assures me that I'm going to catch a giant bass. It's like you turn any lake into a pay lake. But anyways, had a great time. Love you guys.
Guys, Bobby Roast Beef here for another episode of Jigs and Bigs. And man, we have all kinds of crazy stuff going. We have the jig heads obviously in the house, but we just started a brand new Facebook group because we're going into that era to see what's going to happen. It should be exciting. So some of the new community members over there are checking out the show as well. We're looking forward to a really great show this week. We got some weird conversations to have, guys. We're obviously going to recap the slot limit tournament from May. It was amazing. We got details all about that. We've got a story involving racism on the water, and I'll tell you what, Bobby had a knee-jerk reaction to this, as did a lot of other folks who know specifically the parties involved, which is kind of fucked up. We got that to talk about. We have a little bit of news about a local, or I guess a national tournament trail, really, that's having some issues, and that's coming up in headlines. We got Corey Hart from HH Custom Baits in the house, and he's in the beef seat. Great conversation there. We got an FTG for you. You don't want to miss Gear of the Week because there's a little something in there, quite literally for you. And I hope you guys are ready for a great show. We have an awesome one lined up. Go ahead and grab yourself something delicious to enjoy. We'll see you guys right after this. In the house. We got all the homies. We got Pat Martin. Pat Martin's with us. I got to tell you, I saw in the new Facebook group today that Pat Martin was going to be around for this, and I had to stop my car and just kind of like take a breath and be ready because it has been a hot minute since we've had the Ginger Chode in the house. It really has. Pat, I'm glad you're in here. We got Dan Griffin. I saw Dan on the water and both of his boys. Man, what a couple of great kids. Like, really.
Yeah,
really great kids. You know what I mean?
They're all right.
They're all right. They're fine. I guess. But it was great. We have to. It was kind of fun. I got to be honest. This weekend, and we'll get into the details. But Joe and myself and Dan Griffin, we were all in the same body of water, fishing the same kind of tournament, and it was fun. I had a really good time. It was challenging, but it was a good time. We got JM in the house. We got Javi Silva with us. We got. JM says Zek sounding bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Well, if you caught the giant that he did, yeah, it's quite possible. John Hagens is with us. Says, what's happening, fellas? We got, let's see, who else do we have in here? I think that's just about everybody in here. My God, this is great. And all you guys are over at YouTube. I love this. This is awesome. Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm. Joe, how are you doing, dude? Have you dried out?
Dude, I'm good.
Yeah?
Huh?
Have you dried out yet?
Oh, dude.
Right?
I was so, you know what? Actually, shout out to Sims because I was completely dry 90% of the time.
Yep.
It was just, dude, it was like towards the end. It was towards the end that I started, kind of feel a little damp. I had my Sims rain gear on. I had my On Cloud waterproof boots on.
Oh, yeah.
And it just like I was
you
just
were
very
very stylish.
Yeah, I know, right? I was just starting to get a chill at the end. You know what I mean? Like my body really wasn't wet, but I was just like starting to get that chill at the end. I didn't want to be the first one off. So once you guys were like, all right, we're gonna call it here, I was like, oh, thank God.
It was it was brutal, man.
Yeah.
It was really brutal. The AFTCO Hydronaut bibs did great. Like I was all right. You know what screwed me was early on, it was warm. Or early on, it was raining, and it was, it was perfect weather to be wearing that. And I wasn't wearing a waterproof, like a rain jacket or anything like that. So I had my hoodie on.
Sure,
right?
sure.
That absorbs a little bit of water. It dries really fast. And it wasn't really an issue until I took the bibs off and I didn't put them in the dry bag. I put them,
Gotcha.
I didn't want to put them in the dry bag because the exterior was wet, So I put them over my captain's seat to dry out. And we had got a couple of showers had gone through and there. So when I put them back on and I put the hoodie back on, I was already a little bit damp from that. And it was like, it kept me from getting, it helped a little bit, but it was just a mess. It was a mess.
It was crazy because the sun popped out a couple times. I was like, oh, okay.
Warm. Yeah. I was wearing like my base layers and I'm like, this is not too bad, but I knew it was coming. There was a moment where we did hear some thunder. I'm sure you guys heard that too.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. It was like 5 minutes.
And I was fishing with my buddy Jeff, and Jeff is he's an old friend of mine. Like we go back to seriously like 8th grade. And so
crazy.
It was a blast to hang out with him, and this was his first tournament. And we'll go through like the full details and everything.
Yeah.
But this was his first tournament, and oddly enough, so after that thunder had come through, we didn't really see any lightning. I was like, maybe we can go over where that beach is. We'll just like pull the boat up there, kind of, seek cover and everything. And he goes, he had a date that night, single guys.
Sure.
It's a fucking different animal. So he's like, he goes, hey, if you want to call it, he's like, just motor over to the boat. And then this way you can drop me off and then you can at least hang out in the truck. And I was like, that's a good idea. We got over there and then I stopped hearing the thunder. I was like, I'm going to send it now. But I'll stay nearby. That way I can just come right back. And he had taken off. But we ended our day. We ended dead to nuts, both at 72.5 inches.
No kidding. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was bananas. I broke the top 10 because I had the largest fish. So that'll break the tie there. But I'm like, yeah, dude, I broke the top 10 at 72.5, which are now it's not official because I haven't gone through all of the data yet. And when I tell you the numbers, you'll understand why. So there's two things, folks. Number one, your boy Bobby Roast Beef was having a near heart attack on the water because I hadn't been paid by Fishing Chaos for most of the entries that had gone in. Basically, everybody who registered like the day before, it takes a few days for that stuff to go in. So when I checked the balance to make sure what I was dealing with, it was way the fuck off. So Sunday morning, I want to give a shout out to Thomas over at Fishing Chaos because when I have questions, he is so good about getting right back to me and stuff. And I told him, I was like, dude, I've got like a bunch of the deposits, so I know my bank info is right. I was like, is there something up? What's going on? And he was like, he pulled the report and he was like, this is why. He goes, did you have a bunch of douchebags that decided to register like on Friday? Maybe Friday evening. And I was like, yeah. He goes, there you go. He's like, you'll get that one on Tuesday. So I was like, all right, sounds good. So that's all going to be coming in and it's going to be nuts. Everything was out of this world, but it was really kind of crazy because Sean the Fisherman was in this competition. Yes. And Sean loves to push Binya's buttons. He really does. And in fact, when Binya won the April tournament, Sean was very much like,
that's cute.
And was like, I'm coming for you, Binya. I'm going to freaking, he had gone out and Sean fished his ass off. And when he told, like, you think our conditions that we were dealing with, where he was located, he almost rolled his kayak.
Oh,
it was that. Now, how often do you ever hear him say that? Never.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. It was just, it didn't play out that way necessarily. So tentatively, Sean has grabbed the 4th place spot. Now, their top 4 are the spots that pay out because, and a lot of people have asked this, they're like, well, a lot of people are confused by what spots pay out. It's all relative to the number of anglers that are registered. The more people we have participate, the more spots pay out. So it tentatively, the way that it looks right now, we've got Sean the Fisherman at, and I have a feeling his fucking numbers are dead on, in 4th place at 255.5 inches. So all of a sudden, my 72.5 looks like dog shit. At least you broke the 3-digit mark, man.
Yeah.
Well, how did you do, Joe? You got 127.25. Dan Griffin got 148 on the nose. And then separating Dan's position in 6th was Nelson. Nelson got 248.5. And I guess actually Sean had kind of sniped one at like the last second. And
oh, really?
Because he and Nelson, I thought they were fishing at the same body of water, and they weren't. So like Nelson was like, he's like, oh yeah, I cinched 4th, and then it was Sean put one in. It was like boop. And just stole that spot. Binya came in at over. He cleared tentatively. Keep that in mind, because that's going to all be cleared up later this week. Binya, by 101 inches, Binya Outdoors at 356.5 inches. Binya, oh my God. Now, you know what that psycho did after the tournament? He went to his buddies, right? And because he fished a different lake too, by the way, and he did great. I mean, 350 inches is nothing to stick at. You know what I mean?
Ridiculous.
I thought he was a little insane for going there. And keep in mind, that's 3rd place.
Right.
Binya had gone to the another lake because it was nearby a buddy's place, and he had a Slay Nation tournament to fish on Sunday. So that son of a bitch fished for 16 hours over one weekend. I mean, I've camped with Binya, and like he just has a need to be on the water like constantly, non-frickin' stop. So that's 3rd place right there. Brody Davis tentatively cinched the 2nd place spot at 380.75 inches, which is absolutely insane. Out of this world. Unbelievable, man. And then this is the number that's absolutely crazy. So tentatively, keep in mind, I've got to go and check this. John Thompson put in 36 fish, 36 entries. He has 507.5 inches of black bass.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Dan Griffin says, I haven't stopped since last Saturday. I mean, I went out today, but I needed a reprieve on Sunday. I was like, I needed a little bit of a break. An 8-hour day is a long day on the water. For me, I am more of like that 4 to 5, 6 hour guy. Those last couple of hours are like it's grinding. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, in these tournament situations, I really do like to have someone on the boat. You know?
Sure.
It just makes it so much more enjoyable. Like you can pass the time. It keeps me out of my own head. So like when I was fishing and I was with Todd Sefton, and then when I was with Jeff, I was like, this is the way to do it. If I can wrangle somebody that wants to join me on the boat. In fact, I just had a conversation this morning, brief one, with Dave Shade. And he was like, man, I want to get into one of those so bad. But he's like, I don't know. Being a bank guy, he's like, I don't know if it's something that I could do. And I guess, I mean, Brody fishes primarily from the bank. He does get out occasionally on a boat or a kayak.
Yeah, he's got a little kayak. I did see some of his pictures were on his kayak.
I know he bounces around a bit, but like, and I told him, I was like, Dave, I go, honestly, I goes, regardless, I think people would be afraid because just he's got a reputation as such an absolute like complete angler. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things. But he I guess is working on a kayak, and I was like, look, if you want to get in on the June, I was like, I have an open seat. You know, I'm like, you're more than welcome to come with me. I was like, to be perfectly honest, I've pulled enough bonehead maneuvers before. I'll go like wherever. I don't do this to be competitive or to try to win cash or anything like that. I do this because I like fishing with you sons of bitches. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And I mean, I was talking so much shit, Joe.
That's all right,
dude.
That's all right.
I was like, like Jeff and I were just like, these guys are going out deep, and I'm like, I go. It's like they're struggling. I was like, we had a pattern. The problem was a lot of the fish that came in were like just short or too large because
Yeah,
we had, and you'll see on the cover artwork, we had 2 17 and a quarters that we put in the live well just to get a picture with, so that we could use it for the cover art. I was like, it was trust me, even coming in 10th and 11th place, literally tying it in 10th place.
Yeah.
It was still the most amazing day of fishing either one of us had with each other. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. So I am not upset at all
That's awesome.
with that at all. John Hagans goes, I need to sit my ass down. I crashed and burned on the rocks last night, reeling in a 4-pound flathead. Definitely wasn't worth some bruised ribs. We'll make tomorrow's Sandusky trip rough. Oh God, dude. I don't know what you do for bruised ribs. Whiskey? I don't know what to tell you.
Tough it out. You tough it out.
I was like, is icy or hot? This is one of those is going to make it worse. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like, Joe?
Dude, so it was a good time. So I got we've talked about it to where I was like, man, I feel like I can catch 1 million 12-inch smallies in there. And what I did, I had but they weren't hitting as well as I thought they were. Because I was just going to kind of do that and then, kind of work on stuff a little bit bigger. I caught a few that were under 12 inches. I was like, all right. And then I caught a couple. Yep. And, but I just wasn't catching as many as I wanted to. I was like, all right, let me try something different here. I ended up, I was catching them all in a jerk bait, like in the beginning, like a jerk bait, like in around, rocks and stuff like that. And then, there's a hump there, a rocky hump that, I know real well there. And I was like, let me go check that thing out. Yep. I go and I scope. I was scoping a lot of this shit too. Yep. I go and I scope it. And,
we were talking shit about that too.
What's that?
We were talking shit about that too.
Yeah. So I'm scoping it. And, I see 3 fish on it immediately. I hit, I throw the jerk bait in there. And it was like still on the top of the water, and it gets hit. And that's when I pulled in. It was either 16 or 16 and a half inch smallie that was sitting on that hump. So that was like my bigger fish at the time. And it was working for some of us. Well, for one fish it was. But so I pulled that. So I pulled that smallie in, and I went to go to another spot. That's where when I saw you guys, I stopped and chatted for a while. And then I was like, all right, the fishing, because I go there all the time. I was like, the fishing's a little slower than I want it to be here right now. And, dude, I after we were talking stuff like that, I'm like, all right, let me try something out. I grabbed a wacky rig, dude, and I started skipping it under docks, and no bullshit. I think it was just about every fucking dock I skipped, I grabbed 14 to 16 incher off of it. Caught a couple that were over 17. Yep. I caught one. So I wasn't using my net at first, because I was like boat flipping, like thinking I was all badass. And keep in mind it's essentially pouring on us this entire day. So I have, I had like a long sleeve, like sun type shirt under my rain gear. Yep. And so I hook it to this one. I'm pretty sure he was going to be over 17 anyway, but I get him to the side of the boat and I like lay down on my side to kind of like scoop him up and just like grab him. And because the gear I was using very light gear. I was using a medium, like a 7'2" medium rod and a 2000 spinning reel. And I had very light line. But anyway, so I go down, I was going to scoop him, and he's like flailing around. I noticed, I'm like, ooh, he's not hooked that well.
Yeah, that's scary.
He's not hooked that well. And then as he's like flailing around, the hook pops out. And he doesn't realize it yet that he's not hooked anymore. And then moment, so I like go turn. I was like, all right, I got to grab him with 2 hands. I like put the rod down, grab with 2 hands. And then he realizes he's not hooked anymore. And he starts to swim down. I go in right up to my elbows, like trying to just goon in him with 2 hands. I had him for a second. And, but he just slipped through. But it's all right because that one was like I think that one was over 17 anyway. And then couple docks down, I threw another one in there. He ended up skipping me or jumping me off. He shook the hook, And then I saw Dan hit that dock a little bit later.
Yep.
And Owen ended up grabbing, which had to be that fish because there's really only, it seemed like there's only one fish on each dock.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so his youngest ended up grabbing one, I'm pretty sure, which would have had to have been that fish. So I think he said it was like 14 and a half, 15 inches. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, I had a blast. It
was a good time.
Once I figured something out, dude, I was just smashing them, and I didn't beat Dan. I wanted to beat Dan that day. I didn't beat him. I should have stuck it. I should have stuck it out for another half hour, but I was done. So
it was at that point. Yeah, it was just.
Dude, we were just so wet, dude. It was just the boat was still wet. It was so wet. Everything's getting wet, and
so after I dropped Jeff back off, I went over to the last spot that I was fishing, this last little cove, not far from the ramp at all, but it was a spot that like I had jumped because I had moved much further down, and that was exactly the pattern that we were working. It was all docks, and it was all smaller finesse presentations. I was throwing 3-inch guppy. In a different color actually, because I was like, oh, this water's kind of speaking to me a little bit. I'm going to change things up a little bit. So I did, and it was money. I started out with a bladed jig. They didn't want anything to do with it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do this now, and we'll see if the subtlety is what it was. Bingo, it was. I immediately put like 2 in the boat, and so after I dropped Jeff off, he was throwing like a small like a rust or like a copper color, like what do you call it, curly tail grub on a net head. Just slam and swimming it, you know. They were tight to the bottom, so like I was looking to hit every single rock that I could, and that seemed to play pretty well. But it was all catching them off of docks. But yeah, there'd be like one, or maybe you'd get lucky. There'd be one on one side and one on the other, you know. You know, one right out in the front, something like that. And the last spot that I had hit after I dropped Jeff off, I caught 5 smallies that were under 12 inches. I almost threw myself in the water at that point. I was like, are you fucking kidding? Yeah. What's happening? I caught a tank of a black crappie. I mean, it was like, and I was still catching them. They just weren't the right fish. And I'm like, I'm out here, you know, I'm like, the rain's coming down. At this point, the video was done. Like, I didn't even bother. I made a great video, by the way. Like, it's so good.
I didn't film anything, dude, because I just didn't want the fucking cameras to be out in the rain the whole time.
Well, and that's what it was. Like, when it starts raining, I have to come up with a way to make that work. You know, to where I actually have a really great idea for a second camera angle off the, basically off the transom. You know, I asked on Instagram and on YouTube, I was like, I need people to make some suggestions. Like, I'm looking for a cheap 4K action camera, ideally something that's 100% waterproof. That, you know, because I don't need the quality audio. I don't need any of that. It's just for that remote. You know, leave it up there, let it sit for the whole thing, and get those moments when I need it. And so I was, you know, at that point I was like, I'm not going to get any more content on here. I'm just catching the wrong fish. Let's just call it. I'm like looking at where I was like, I don't think I think it was like 3:15 when I was like, I'm going to motor back over. And I was like, I don't think in 45 minutes I'm going to put up enough fish to make it even worth it. I went in there with a goal of catching 2, and I did. You know, I ended up catching 5 that fit the slot, which was awesome. I was stoked. I'm willing to bet I probably caught like 25 or 30 fish.
Oh yeah,
like it was ridiculous.
I mean, it turned out to be a really good day of fishing. One of the more productive days I had there in a while, which is awesome. You know, I fish there all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's your local spot, and that's why I was like, I wonder if Joe's pissed that I'm here in his hood. Like, I'm bringing all that Holyoke steak out there. It was so good, man. Zach put one on the board for the slot. And like I said, we had 22 anglers in there and 16 people put in fish.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. And I mean, when you consider that it's a nationwide tournament, just the vast area that this covers, the different bodies of water, like it was remarkable that we had 4 different anglers from the tournament in one body of water. It was just unbelievable, dude. It was so much fun. So the good news is that the June registration is open right now. So there's going to be a link in the description right here, but you can just go over to jigsandbigs.com and you'll see the June registration. It's going down on the 21st. I figured I wouldn't push it to the end of the month. I'm like, we'll go with the 21st. And this gives a few weeks for people to get registered and go ahead and do it. And I had a couple of people I had bounced this off of, and the feedback was good. If we can, there's a metric in my mind that I want to see kind of us hit a couple of times. And if that happens, because there's a lot of folks that said like, oh, I'm just not available that weekend. If it was another weekend, I could do it. I would be okay with doing this twice a month.
Okay. I
think it could be fun. I mean, I'm just, I wouldn't, there's no way in hell I would do each and every single one. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I would have a role to play, at least as tournament director.
Sure.
But by setting that up, I think it would be fine. Like, you want to go ahead and do this? If you can't hit the June one, the one that's on the first half of the month, we'll hit the last Saturday. We'll do like the second and the last Saturdays. Yeah. Something like that. And I'll pop in periodically, and I'm sure some other folks will. I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea. I want to see what happens through the rest of the season. And, maybe I'll throw some more in there. It'll be kind of interesting. And then, I just think this was a whole lot of fun. I did get out today. I never put an end scene at the end of my video. So I was like, I'll do this from another body of water. I'll record that while I'm here. So I did. I wrapped up the video there. And then I did like just fished and caught some stuff. Got my first topwater frog blow up today.
What was it?
First topwater frog blow up today.
Oh, nice.
Of the year. Yeah, it was pretty badass. I ended up, there were actually a lot of boats where I went. I went over to Congamon Jr., nothing crazy. And, And I was like, these boats kind of suck. I'm going to go in the back over here. So I go over this way and I was like, you know what? These pads are all coming up pretty good. So I threw, I forget what the name of the frog is. But it's a bone color frog. And it's one of the last frogs that I think we got from a Dark Horse box. And,
gotcha.
And so I was just throwing that around, just covering these pads. And I got one blow up on it that I missed because I'm a fucking piece of shit. And I ended up, I fished the rest of those pads all the way through and then hit up, what was it? I hit another one where I fished. Well, I started fishing docks is what it was.
Okay.
Started throwing a wacky rig, wasn't getting bit there. Ended up throwing a finesse bladed jig. And I caught a shit ton of fish, like a bunch. I caught the grossest largemouth bass I've ever seen in my life today.
What you mean?
You used to ride. You know what road rash looks like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this bass right at its tail where like the main body like formed into the tail had a patch like I would say maybe about the size of like a beer can lid around.
Okay.
That was like it was like the skin was just removed. And
it was probably for making a bed.
It was bloody. No, it was further up along the body. It wasn't on the tail, not on the fin.
Oh. Gotcha.
It was weird.
Okay.
I was like, because that's what I thought initially. Like I saw when I was getting them over to the boat, I was like, oh, it must be making a bed. There's beds everywhere. I'm seeing bluegills and beds over there now. Shit like that. But like I didn't see any active bass. I did see a big bass cruise right out from under a dock after I spooked him, I think, with my wacky. It was kind of nuts. John says lamprey. Not in that body of water.
Not up here. Nah. Well, not in that body of water.
Not in that body of water. In the Connecticut River for sure. Yeah, they're definitely up there, but man, it was just absolutely fucking bananas, dude. It was crazy. So it was gross. I had a jet ski fucking just buzzing around, just being irritating.
Of course.
And it was just fucking insane. So did you do any other fishing other than the derb, Joe?
I went out once during the week, one evening. Brought Emma with me. It was a nightmare. It was like the Wednesday night thing with Dan. I was catching a bunch of rats. Nothing good. And then, Emma decided to come off her tablet and it's like, I want to catch a fish. And she's like kind of getting whiny about it.
Yep.
And it was later. It was like late in the evening. So she was getting tired anyway. She was getting hangry.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, fine. I was like, so I just went to a spot I know to where I could just keep hooking crappie for her. So I had a bag of like just danks. And she was like ready to go before it ended. So I think it ended at 8:15 and we left at like 7:30. I just threw my fish back. So I knew it wasn't going to get me anything anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And, got her home.
Oh yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. But it was this week after. What was it? After the tournament, today was the day. I'm probably not going to get out again until I think like maybe Sunday, something like that. Zach says a toad thumper. I think you're right. Zach. If I'm not mistaken, the body has like some. It's like molded where the hooks kind of lie, like right up alongside of it. Like it's a perfect sort of fit. And it is. I'm not much of a big frog guy. Like I throw a frog when you have to. People are just like, I'd love to throw a frog in there. And I'm like, why? I'm like,
I only get like 50% of, just because that's frog fishing.
It totally is. But exactly. I probably end up on it.
Like the pads aren't even up yet.
Yeah. If there are pads, I'm 100% going to throw a frog. But if it's like, oh yeah, these weeds, they're grown up almost to the surface. There's a million other topwaters I'm going to throw over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. 100%.
Like just treble hooks, baby.
Yeah. They're not at the top of the water. I'm throwing some trebles.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or buzz bait, something.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time, man. I had a really, really good time. And I got home today. I was out fishing with Eleanor today. I got home today and there was a package waiting for me, half of a delivery that I'm waiting to show up. And that you guys will hear about in Gear of the Week coming up in our next segment. You're not going to want to miss it. But I think as far as like our weeks go, like congratulations to everybody that took part in the tournament. It was a really, really good event. Pretty amazing overall. We did have, I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to own this shit. I had made the identifier for this tournament the name of a local tournament cheat. And I had full intention of like going like way over the top with content and shit. And then Bobby Roast Beef got home and got into this anxiety-filled spiral of like, is this really what I want to fucking do here? Do I really want to? And I made some fucking changes there. But everybody, I think we all understand that cheating sucks and whatnot.
So funny story about the identifier.
Yeah. Oh.
So I never have a Sharpie on my boat. You know what I mean? Because I very rarely do I do like the length stuff. And I grabbed one from home and I get on the boat, not realizing it's like one of like the real fine ones, like, and like I'm trying to write on my hand, dude, until the point it like hurts. I'm like, and it's like raining, so it's not working. I'm like, fuck. So I find like a slip of paper on my boat. I'm like, all right, I'll just use this for now.
Yep.
I think it was like the second fish, dude. I'm like, I just put it like above the board, and I'm just the fish like jumps and rolls onto the paper. So like, it's all wet, dude. I peel it off, dude, and all you see is the identifier on the side of the fish.
Yes. You tattooed him.
Like it's like mirrored, it's backwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like peeling this piece of paper off the fish. I was like, oh, this is good.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah. Oh man, it was very, very interesting. What was this? We had one entry. We had a couple of new folks that had never, ever done tournaments. Not just Jeff, like other ones too. And I got a couple of DMs, and I think this was after the tournament had wrapped. They were just continuing to fish. And I'm going to have to do a video with a tutorial about like identifier and what do you call it? Like, the identifier and like how to put the fish on the board, because there were like all different fucking wrong ways and shit like that. It's freaking unbelievable. But yeah, it was pretty badass. I'm amazed with how good it turned out, and
it was a good time, man. It was good. It was like you said, it was a good turnout. Yeah. I
was sweating it.
The amount of fish, it was great.
Exactly. Eli goes, I frog fish with a punch to follow. Dude, yeah, that's a fantastic idea. It's crazy, man. So we have in our headlines this week, we actually have a shitload of stuff to talk about, and it gets a little bit fucking insane. To be perfectly honest, like we're gonna be a little all over the place. So are you ready for this, Joe?
Let's do it. All right, we got a couple stories for you today, but we're gonna save the best for last because it kind of falls into the FTG category too. But kind of, if you think about it, Bobby, both of them kind of fit into the FTG.
They kind of do. They kind of do. Oh, I should, before we actually do this, remember we had that story recently about a guy and a guy and his girlfriend in the Connecticut River.
Yes,
they found his body.
Yeah, they found his. What was it, yesterday, right?
Yeah,
or the day before?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
It is.
So a team. Here's the headline: a team won thousands in a bass tournament, then their checks bounced. Several anglers say their prize checks have bounced after competing in the American Bass Anglers events this spring. The tournament says it's a banking error. American Bass Anglers, a fishing tournament organization based in Alabama, you guys hear me talking about it all the time, is getting some backlash from fishermen who claim they haven't been paid for their proper winnings. Several anglers, you ready for this one, Bobby? Several anglers who fished an ABA military tournament this spring down in West Point Lake, Georgia.
My God.
Say that their prize checks bounced, and according to a local affiliate, those fishermen are still waiting to get paid. That includes the tourney's winners, who are looking at a $1,900 payout for their first place finish. They never reached out to me after the return check. I actually reached out to them, Rick Bradley states. He placed second in the tourney and was owed around $400. He told the local, this is what he told the local news outlet on Thursday.
Yep.
Bradley also said, however, that the ABA had contacted him to confirm his address and make sure another check would go to the right place. The ABA's president, Morris Sheehan, released an official statement that same day and chalked up the problem to a banking error. Remember that part, Bobby. Remember it, the banking error. She explained that an unexpected system issue resulted in some tournament payout checks not clearing as intended, and he assured anglers that they were working to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Outdoor Life reached out to the ABA Friday to comment, but did not hear back.
No.
But Slick Johnson, you know Slick Johnson, right? TikTok, Instagram, an influencer and instigator.
Who doesn't
in the competitive bass fishing space,
right?
says the ABA's payments problem goes back further than the most recent military tournament. In a video he posted on Facebook Friday, Johnson claimed that this issue has been going on for months. They're taking money from the anglers. About 90% of the checks are bouncing, Johnson alleges. There's people that have been waiting for 2 months. When it happened at Eufaula, we thought it was a one-time thing when all the checks bounce. Several of those checks cleared, but some still haven't. The military team bass tournament that Bradley and others competed in was held on West Point Lake in LaGrange, Georgia from April 30th to May 2nd. Johnson claimed in the video that according to the anglers who fished the tournament, and have since contacted him, there was around $8,800 paid to the ABA through entry fees for that event. They only paid out $4,000 in winnings, though. So it was less than a 50% payout.
Okay.
Which I didn't know. But every one of those checks bounced anyway, Johnson said. They're saying, well, we're waiting to get money from the city so that we can pay the payouts and make the checks, but I'm getting calls every single day from the people who aren't getting paid. And that comes from Johnson. So now, as you all know, I'm an ABA member.
Yeah.
I fished that series.
This is
and
a
I just
sticky
so
thing.
happened to get an email today from Mr. Morris Sheehan himself. And remember that banking error. Let's talk about that. Let's hold on to that. To all ABA members, I want to take a moment to address the recent issue regarding tournament payout checks and speak directly to you, not just as the president and owner of the American Bass Anglers, but as someone who has dedicated more than 25 years to serving the weekend angler. I am deeply concerned about the issue and want to assure you that I am taking full steps to make sure every affected member is made whole. It was never my intention, and regret the inconvenience and concern it caused. Corrective actions have already been implemented, and I'm working personally with affected members to resolve each matter. I also want to speak clearly about the future. American Bass Anglers is remaining strong, committed, and focused. The AFT National Championship will proceed as scheduled, and we will plan to award a new boat to both Angler of the Year and the Champion. And then he talks about how some other ones are going. Mm-hmm. If you just had a single bank error, why do you need to explain all this? Why can't you just say, "Oh, we had a bank error"? No, this is someone's dipping their hand in the cookie jar. I think, Bobby. That's my or just a gross mismanagement of funding.
And yeah. Like my thing is always this. Like Sean and I have always butted heads about like different organizations and the percentage that they pay out. I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody making money off of running a tournament or anything like that. In fact,
100%. I 100% agree.
I think what's important is that you're just upfront about that. You know what I mean? So like saying like that, hey, this is the percentage that pays out. With that said, right? And I've never heard of a tournament trail, but I'm pretty green when it comes to this stuff. I've never heard of a tournament trail taking that large of a cut.
Oh yeah, basically 55%.
And then to like have the checks bounce, and then, I know that they said that they're reissuing checks and everything else. I mean, okay, then there's the fact that like, okay, it's 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we mailing checks, guys? Why is that a thing?
Also true.
You print out a certificate that doesn't have any money value at all, and then you just transfer people directly, and then your banking errors are gone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep. It's just, his final line here, and granted, I wasn't in the money at West Point, so it doesn't affect me in any way at all. But except for the fact that the money that I did pay in for somebody to win it who deserved it, didn't get that
go
money.
there.
So where the fuck is my money?
Yeah, that's shitty.
He says, I remain committed to transparency, accountability, and progress. I think the transparency part's a little bullshit because I think he's just kind of doing a little bit of damage control here.
I think that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's given two different explanations. Like what the AFT National Championship will proceed as scheduled. And we plan to still award the stuff. Like, I don't know, dude. Something seems fishy to me. And then due to current series structures, we are already operating at 90% cash at the ramp payback levels. Which that's not jiving. So again, just damage control. We'll kind of see what happens with this. I have spoken to some people. Mm-hmm. Apparently the gentleman who won the boat on Lake Murray still has not received a boat or any payment for that. And that's not mentioned in here as well. I got a little mole, you know what I mean? A little snake in the grass. And it kind of told me that it appears that shit's is way worse than what we're even hearing. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens.
No, for sure. Dan Griffin says he kind of nails it. He goes, again, millions going into these events, and they should be able to pay this out easy. BASS, here we come, Joe.
yeah. So Dan and I had a couple wobbly pops last. So a friend of ours, one of my close friends that I joined the military with, was in the area. So we went and met him at my brother's bar, and I Dan grew up with him as well, so I called him. I was like, dude, come down and meet us, and he did. We had a couple wobbly pops. I told him about this whole thing, and that's what he's like, dude. So, what, we're going to BASS next year? It's like, well, we might have to.
Fucking A.
So
crowbar yourselves into the elites. Make that shit happen.
Yeah, there you go.
You know.
Yeah, so there's that one. There's that story. And then we're going to shift gears a little bit. This one's a little bit wild and
local.
It even makes it more wild because I know the victim of this incident personally.
Yeah.
So, quote, yeah, I'm throwing rocks at you. Racist incident targets father, daughter fishing at Massachusetts Lake. With school out for Memorial Day, 10-year-old Azalea Brown and her father, Sharon Brown, were SKB fishing, were spending an ideal near summer day together. The pair grabbed a large pepperoni pizza from Athens Pizza, her favorite spot in their hometown of Leominster, Massachusetts, then drove 10 minutes to Lake Shirley in Lunenburg to float, fish, and eat the slices on the water at Sharon's boat. But the afternoon abruptly dissolved into what Sharon said was his daughter's first experience of racism. Keep in mind, Sharon he's a black man. So just for you, this to make a little bit more sense. A man throwing rocks at the family from shore as he screamed racial slurs at them, which Sharon Brown captured on video as he dialed 911. Racial slurs. I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna play the video, anything, because it's that bad. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. It's all there.
The N word with the hard ER.
Yeah.
The man identified from court filings as David McPartlin, 66, of Ayer, Massachusetts, will be summoned on 2 charges of assault with a dangerous weapon and 2 charges of assault to intimidate, according to the Lunenburg Police Department. Attempts to contact McPartlin by Mass Live were unsuccessful. Sharon, 53, said he isn't sure how the apparent racially charged encounter will affect his young daughter emotionally in the weeks and years to come. I don't want my daughter to have a bad light of white males or lake residents. I want her to treat people all the same, he said. My daughter witnessed it where someone calls her father that word. I'm forced to explain things to her when I may not be ready. Mm-hmm. I'm forced to explain something to her under duress after I choke back how I feel, what I may want to do, he said, his voice growing thick with emotion. I'm not prepared. How do you prepare for this situation? He said. So what happened? The incident on Lake Shirley in Lunenburg on Memorial Day happened just before 5 p.m. According to the Lunenburg police, homes of a few hundred residents dot the 27 miles of heavily developed shoreline on the 354-acre lake. Mm-hmm. There's a dedicated boat ramp and recreational beach area called Shady Point Beach and Campground. Brown is a competitive fisherman who also works in IT for a Connecticut biopharmaceutical company and had been out on the water that day with his 10-year-old daughter in the custom fishing boat he's owned for 13 years. Brown said he's been a season pass holder at the Lake Shirley for half a decade, often come to fish and spend time with his children. He said as a competitive fisherman who is a 6'4", 270-pound black man, he has become a well-known fixture in the lake community and has gifted fishing gear to local kids. He also grew up in the nearby town of Shirley. Brown said Lake Shirley residents are mostly white, while many visitors are people of color. However, Monday was the first time he had heard or experienced any racial problem there. He added the residents have had issues before with fishermen leaving their hooks behind on docks, their boats, whatever, like we all hear about. But he makes a point to never leave his professional expensive gear. The late afternoon of Memorial Day, Sharon and Zayla headed to a spot on the lake that Brown knew well, an area with plenty of fish and no plants or structure to tangle his daughter's line. When they arrived, 3 other fishermen, who Brown said were all white men, were already in the area, very close to the dock by a house on shore. Brown said he waited until those fishermen left, then moved his boat to a spot between 60 and 75 feet from the shore. It was much farther out than the other boat had been. The 2 hadn't even cast a line before a man, later identified as McPartlin, came outside of a home and began to yell at the father and daughter. The man asked Brown why he was fishing that spot and said that I shouldn't be fishing there, Brown stated. I have somewhere else to go fish, and I shouldn't. The man stated that he has somewhere else to fish, and he shouldn't be there. Brown replied, I'm here with my daughter. It's Memorial Day. Why are you targeting me? He explained that they would stay away from the man's property for the hour and a half they planned to be there, unlike the other fishermen who had just been there to fish the bass under his dock. That's when McPartland began to escalate the confrontation, Brown says, started swearing at him. When Brown tried to ask the man to calm down in front of his daughter, McPartland said he just didn't want them there and told them to go somewhere else and said, you guys think you own the lake. Brown said McPartland grew angrier even as he tried to explain he ignored the other boats nearby, blah, blah, blah. So it continues to it's a long article, even longer than this. But so basically the guy, Sharon filmed this interaction. He had up on his social media, SKB Fishing, I believe it's on. And the guy was just, and granted, every incident has, every there's two sides to every story, but there was no excuse. Yeah. There was no excuse
pretty cut and dry.
For any of the words, the words used, or whether it's racism, it's one thing to be pissed about someone fishing your dock. We've all dealt with that. But to go to a racial place, especially, it's one thing when you're like man to man, mano a mano, man.
Exactly.
But this dude had his 10-year-old daughter in there with him, and this dude's just acting a fool. It was absolutely uncalled for. I know Sharon, he's a good dude. I fished against him numerous times. He's a good guy, and just nobody deserves this. But just like the racially motivated thing was just, it was pretty wild to me, and just to see it, just watching it made me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I was like, holy, 100%. I was like, I was just like, holy crap, man. But yeah, so we'll kind of, Sharon's kind of, he's been, he was very vocal about it. He wanted people to understand, like, hey, this is what I, dealt with and kind of see. And that guy, I'm good. They play, like you said to me, Bobby. I'm glad they put his name on there, because that guy's not going to be able to leave his house for a long time.
Well, and that's the thing. So number one, that was Mass Live that posted that story, and kudos to them for printing the guy's name, because honestly, I think you got to call out that kind of bullshit anytime that you can. Especially when it's so way over the top. Secondly, and you and I talked about this, we're talking about Memorial Day weekend. This is the worst possible example of idiocy on a holiday weekend at a lake.
Oh my
because
gosh,
I
dude.
guarantee you this happened at 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was
early. But I guarantee you this guy was a few steps away from sober already. Sure. A lot of people will say oh, I was drunk, I didn't mean that bullshit. Because here's the thing about being drunk. Being drunk doesn't make you a different person. Being drunk makes you the real person you are. Generally. And the thing is, this guy is I'm really glad that Mass Live posted this. And also, Dan Griffin says, he was smart. Sharon handled this the right way. And kudos to him, because it is hard. I can only imagine how difficult it is to stifle your immediate knee-jerk reaction to a level of ignorance like this. And also who the fuck do you think you are? And the level of disrespect in front of his daughter, that's insane.
This is some old dude, and Sharon's a big man.
That's what I'm saying,
dude.
And I'm like,
Sharon's this big scary guy.
I think he handled it just fine, and I think he did the right thing, and I think he did the right thing by his kid. I think he did the right thing by just the community, and calling this guy this. Trust me, I think this is the right move. But I he's going to be tried or charged or whatever, and I don't know how it's going to play out.
Massachusetts, dude. It's not going to go well for him.
No, it's definitely not. And I mean, not only in whatever happens as far as what the final how this all works out, but his reputation has gone to shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. There are plenty of racist fucking assholes in Massachusetts. There are 100%.
More than you would think. More than you would think.
But at the end of the day, there is somebody who's just being, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like they're just being abrasive and for the sake of being an absolute piece of shit. Like you can say all you want about Karens on the water and like, say get away from my dog and blah, 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 blah. This was like that next degree. Like that, this guy is like Supreme King Kenneth. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. It's awful, man. And that's the other thing.
It was just terrible to watch, you know. I'm glad he filmed. I'm glad he was able to film it, and it was just obviously unacceptable and just makes me want to go out fishing there and just fucking just rip my hooks off on all my hooks off on his dock, dude.
I just, and I really feel, because here's the thing, what this asshole did, like he robbed the ability for Sharon to teach his daughter about the reality of and the evils of the world at a time where he was comfortable to do that.
Exactly.
And
100%. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
100%. So now he doesn't even have now he's thrown in this situation where basically he has to like figure out how to handle this. And like, oh man, I feel for him. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's fucking terrible. There is no need for any of that in not just in the outdoors, just in general in society. Like,
yeah, there really isn't. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, man. But it's a world we live in. Sharon Sharon handled that perfectly. He's an upstanding guy. Yep. I don't know him very well. We've had conversations. I definitely respect him a lot more. After that. He's a better man than me. I can have anger issues at times, and I'm afraid I would have. Yeah, I know. I'm afraid I wouldn't have handled that. But you know what? I've never been in a situation like that with like Emma in the boat with me.
Yeah, that's true too.
So you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy, man. Wild headlines this week, dude.
It was fucking heavy, man. It was a fucking heavy headline.
So many emotions.
God damn.
So many emotions.
There's one real interesting thing that did happen this week. And it didn't make the headlines or anything like that. But our guest in the beef seat this week, Corey Hart, and Corey is not, I was like, I'm of a particular age, I'm like, Corey Hart, the sunglasses at night guy.
Oh shit.
Different guy. I did ask.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, Corey, I go, you're probably too young to get this. And I could tell he was like winding up like, I know what you're going to fucking say. Fucking asked him. I was like, does anybody ever say that to you? He's like, there isn't a day that goes by. And so Corey owns HH Custom Baits, but we had initially like our appointment to record initially was on I think a Tuesday, and Corey like that morning sends me a DM on Instagram and I was like, hey dude, he's like, is it possible we could reschedule maybe for like Thursday? And I was like, yeah, we could probably do that. Why? What's going on? And he's like, my son is being born like right now. So I was like,
no excuses.
I'm like, you
get your ass on that StreamYard right now so we can get this done.
I was like, no, stop talking to me. Go ahead and pick whatever time that you want. I'll make it work.
Yeah.
And I go, go give your wife a high five because she fucking earned it. So we have a real good conversation, and that's a Jigs and Bigs first. I've never had to reschedule.
I hope he named his son Bobby Roast Beef.
I believe he went with Chateaubriand.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he was going for that French kind of thing. No, I just. But it's pretty badass. We have a good conversation. That's coming up later. We do have a legit FTG, and I want to throw this out there. The reason why we didn't throw the Sharon story in with the FTG is that this is way beyond an FTG.
Yeah, it is. It was a longer conversation worthy.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Man, it was just freaking nuts. I just got a text from the butcher. He's like,
oh boy.
Hey, dude, what lake was that jig video from?
He knows.
Did you tell him?
He knows. I will. I mean, I fished there with him. But it's just funny. I'm in the middle of doing the show.
That wasn't the same lake that we were on the other day.
No.
No.
That was my backup plan.
I remember now. I remember now. Yep. He goes there a lot.
Yeah, he does. He goes there. I mean, it's a nice spot. It really is. You know? That's one thing I do want to mention. I dropped, like, I'm in the process right now of dropping so much content on YouTube, and like I probably should have actually dropped this jig tips video before the tournament because I talk up the tournament in it, but I'm like, it is what it is. You know, folks can go to jigsandbigs.com and get connected to the next tournament, whatever it is. But my goal, I'm hoping, is that people will like be looking for jig tips and stumble on this video and say,
this guy is delightful. Let's subscribe and click that notification bell. Like and comment.
All that shit. You know,
actually, I finally finished the West Point Day 3 editing today.
Oh,
actually,
you did? Good.
So I had to come down with like to the office with like my hard drive and everything still attached to the computer, balancing it because it was at like, as I sat down, it was still at like 97%. I was like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But yeah, so it probably won't get uploaded today. It'll get uploaded tomorrow, just so I can do like the thumbnail and all that bullshit and the final like. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
I'm looking forward to it.
There's some funny shit in there. There's some shenanigans and just a lot of catching a lot of fish. So I'm pumped.
That's freaking badass, man. I love it. I love it, man. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back over and we're going to get right into an FTG. We got a big announcement in Gear of the Week. That's coming up. And man, so much good stuff. Like I said, we got Corey Hart in the beef seat. We have some live well conversations. So we're talking baits in the live well this week and getting some good opinions going. I think you guys are we've just kind of tipped right here. That's where we are. Go ahead and take yourself and grab yourself something during the break. We will see you in 2 shakes of a dog. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Do what you got to do. We'll see you guys at the other end of this. All right. Don't go too far.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
All righty, guys. So here's the actual FTG segment right here. We got this call that came in from Adam Blomeke. Let's go ahead and give this a listen. And there's a little bit of a discussion that I think we'll have afterwards.
Hey, what's up, boys? It's 12:30 on Sunday, June 1st. This is the old sardine slinger himself, Adam Blomeke, up here in New Hampshire. I decided to hit the bank of the river because I had a few things to do this afternoon, and I wanted to nominate this one dildo in his kayak today because I was fishing from the bank and he kept slowly creeping closer and closer and closer. And then as soon as I went back over to the truck to switch out rods, he immediately put the kayak motor on as fast as it would go and then decided to spot lock himself right in front of where I was fishing. And when I kind of said, hey, buddy, what the fuck? He shrugged at me and said, I can fish wherever I want. So, yeah, I'd like to nominate him for FTG this week. I don't know if it qualifies, but I'm certainly fucking pissed, and I hope his dick gets infected. And, yeah, so he can go fuck himself. Thanks, boys. Have a good one.
I fucking love Adam, dude. If that isn't the most New Hampshire voicemail I've ever heard in my life, right?
I know. Go fuck yourself is such a like fun term. Did I ever tell you the one time I told like an old guy to go fuck himself? Dude, you know, it was an old guy I worked with back in the day. You know what his response was? And I was just like taken back. Like, no. I have nothing to say to that. I go, oh, Paulie, God rest his soul. He was like such a good guy. I go, you know what, Paul? Go fuck yourself. And he goes, you know what, Joe? If my dick could touch my ass, I would.
I would.
And I was like,
that's fucking great.
Like, oh my God. I was like an 18-year-old kid. I was like, whoa.
Like when I worked in television, go fuck yourself was just like an ongoing term of endearment. It can mean anything. Be like, hey, how you guys doing? Go fuck yourself. And eventually it became GFY. So we would use it and I'd be counting down like a reporter to do a fucking live thing. And I'd be like, and in 5, 4, GFY, 2, and they'd be like stifling a laugh. Oh, it was great. It was great. God. Oh, that's fucking great. I will tell you, here's the thing. I think that there is this idea out there that small boat anglers, kayak anglers primarily, can do no wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much up against them. But here's the thing. Anybody in any demographic can be an asshole.
Sure.
Case in point. I love smoking marijuana. Okay. Not when people say things like stoners are always such the best, they're the best kind of people. And I'm like,
are you an idiot?
Anybody can be an asshole. Just because you like to do a thing in a specific way as somebody else does not mean that assholes won't like that same shit.
And by the way, listeners, this isn't just an act from Bobby, because when I was trolling over to his boat to say hello the other day, it's all I could fucking smell. I was like, and I'm laughing. I'm like, nice.
I mean, you whistle while you work. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what
That's
to
right.
say.
That's right.
So the thing is like, there are people who will, like, they just don't get this etiquette of like, hey, I was fishing here. Now, I mean, Adam went to the truck. I mean, when this dude saw him come back because he was changing out a rod, like, just, what pisses me off more than anything is not even like that he came over when Adam left to go to the truck. It's the inching over closer.
Yeah,
that right there. It's like he's telling you he's going to be a total dildo, to quote Adam.
So here's what comes from me. So, like, obviously, it's kind of funny. And Bobby, I'm sure you see it now, being a boat guy. It's kind of funny that a lot of times while you're in the boat, you go to hit spots that you could fish from shore as well.
Always, you know what I mean?
So it's kind of this weird like stigma within the boater community, and but one thing I try to do is like I try to stay away. If I see anyone on shore, I stay far away. Because for one, chances are if they've been there for a little bit amount of time, they've thrown everything. Like, those fish aren't gonna fucking hit my shit if they didn't hit. Maybe they would.
You never know. Yeah.
But it's like, because I don't want, like, the anxiety in me is like, oh my God, I don't want that person going, look at this asshole in that expensive ass boat, and he comes and fishes the shore where he could just fucking have just stepped out of his truck. So I'm like, oh fuck, he's kind of right. So it was I get that, and you and I dealt with it when we were on the Connecticut River in the Skeeter with the carp fishing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because remember, we wanted to go over to that little drainage ditch thing, but that's where they had all their fucking rods,
all their gear,
so we didn't go over there.
Fuck, nothing we can do.
And so
it that's the thing. I've had instances before where, like, I've been out fishing. There was this one instance where I was like, and I felt genuinely was like, son of a bitch, man. I was in my kayak, and these dudes had casted so fucking ridiculously far out, and I didn't see their lines. And they would have been fine if they didn't reel up. But as they were reeling up, they got all tangled up in my prop. And I was like, hold on a sec, man. Go on. And the dude kept reeling and reeling and reeling. And I was trying to untangle it from the prop. And eventually, like, he was fucking swearing at me and shit. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to fucking undo this. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I ended up just cutting his line. I was like, fuck you. I was like, bye. Yep. And then actually, I went and I pulled a fish right off a weed bed right there. Right in front of him. Took that fish and fucking spiked them. No, it was just like, I'm like, you know what I mean? But like, and it fucking tore me up because I like to think that I have a certain level of etiquette. In fact, that day that we were out in the Connecticut River in that tournament, like, I remember making some casts and being like, fuck. Cause like, Carp anglers, like, especially like, and actually some of the people that were over there, I even knew. And like those lines go out and they just stay there. You know, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to snag anything. I got my bait out of there as quickly as I could because I'm like, I don't know where the fuck their lines are going. You know, yeah, it can just be a mess, man. It can just be a fucking mess.
Yo, Bogley just tried to call me as we're recording.
Of course, because he has no idea we're making a fucking podcast right now. He goes, I told him what lake it was. He was like, damn, you went without me? And you crushed it? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so that is super shitty. I hate that that Adam had to deal with that, you know, that dildo. And fuck that guy. That's what fuck that guy is for. Because if it qualifies, 100% it qualifies, you know? Oh, good Lord. So now we're going to shift gears because I've got some news for you guys. And I think you're really going to like this.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Bigs gear of the week.
Alrighty, guys, let's talk gear. Let's talk specific gear. And I don't think that we've done this before. I really, really don't. I don't think that we've necessarily done this previously, but we're going to talk about one specific brand of gear that Jigs and Bigs has a long time relationship with that is going to advance further even now. And that company is Arc. And Joe introduced me to Arc initially. You know, Joe carried Arc at his tackle shop, Old Glory Outdoors, and I was looking to, you know, pick up a little bit of a spectrum of different rods, and he made some suggestions. And I actually was the generation 1 of those Brandon Cobb rods. Yep. Because they were, you know, and I will tell you, they fished great, man. They really, you know, I recently actually, I think it was an episode of Tackle Talk. Andrew Hayes had like reviewed like a bunch of like $99 rods, and those Cobb rods were in there, and he wasn't a fan of like the painted camouflage pattern on the cork or, you know, or the EV. I forget if it's cork or EVA or what it was. It was like a combination handle, all that kind of stuff, man. I love those. I love those rods. I think they're great. I use those. I picked up a Tharp rod, a spinning rod. So I bought 3 originally from you, and then I think I've used some of the Arc baits like lipless cranks and stuff, and they're pretty freaking badass. They really are. Yeah, they are. Then Arc got into like the reels. And I was like, really? I mean, that's where I really got interested. But I never really had the opportunity to dabble and find out what they were necessarily like. And then when I got into BFS, I heard a lot about the Arc Gravity bait finesse stuff, specifically the reel. They have now recently, I think just this month, dropped a bait finesse, a Gravity Series rod. And I got one. It arrived today, and when I took it out of the packaging, the tube and everything, and I was like, this thing feels so light, feels so good and so natural. So I picked up a 6.4 light fast is what I got. And I got it so that it could do a little bit more of like the heavier kind of grass and stuff like that, throwing jigs and things like that. Like the BFS style jigs that I would throw. Like I'm talking about like 1/8 ounce jigs and stuff like that. Nothing super crazy. I have the reel coming. The reel was shipped separately. That'll be here on Wednesday. But I say all this because now, Joe, your experience with Arc has been pretty significant too. Like you were like the Invoker Pro guy for a while.
Yeah. So I still run into. So I mean, as we all know on the show, I I'm typically a 6 cents rod guy, but the Arc is my number 2. I still have a bunch of Invoker Pro spinning rods that I run now. Those were such hot sellers. I mean, I tried to sell the shit out of them.
Oh, for sure.
but the good thing is like you, I think actually Sean might have gotten one at one point.
Sean bought a handful. Like there were a few of them, and I think he's probably still got a few of them in the mix too.
Yeah, and then a bunch of the hoodlums bought them, and not one person was like, "Yeah, these things suck." That I know of. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed those rods. I still enjoy them. I kind of got on the 6 cents train and a couple megabass rods now. But dude, those Invoker Pros are one of my definitely in my top 5 of favorite rods.
Yeah.
For sure. I love those things.
Honestly, it's a really, really premium rod at a reasonable price, like with those, you're not spending like
130. No, I forget how much.
I think they were like 179, something like that.
Okay.
There might have been something like that in that ballpark, but like they weren't like crazy. Like they're in their quality gear. The rods are awesome. We're going to find out about the reels because like I said, I've got the Gravity BFS combo that I'll be using.
I've yet to put my hands on an arc reel.
And that's what I'm most interested in because again, like I have become a Shimano and now recently a Daiwa slut. And but I'm not against other reels either. Like I've used a bunch of other stuff. It's just like I love the quality that you can feel in those reels. But with the BFS stuff, I fooled around with a bunch. I've got Daiwa, I've got Suyonara with the Dark Wolf. I've got what's the other one? Oh, the Cast King Zephyr. And I'm really interested to see what happens. And we have had some guests on the show. Most recently was Carlos Official, and then we had Cat Dip on the show the week prior. Both of those guests are both of those guests are ambassadors, and now Jigs and Bigs is too.
Hell yeah.
And now Jigs and Bigs is too. You guys can get a fantastic discount, 10% off, and in the same effort, you can not only save yourself 10%, but you can help out the show too with a little bit of a kickback as well. So I figured I was like, I spoke with Ark and I was like, I explained what I was doing with Bait Finesse, and I said I am throwing it a lot, and I think this is the move. I'm going to look into this, and I was like, I've got to know what the reels. I'm probably going to add a few more things in as either I want to make changes or just to dabble or whatever, and it'll be pretty freaking interesting. I will tell you guys. So the code is real simple. It's Jigs and Bigs. All one word, Jigs and Bigs. And you get 10% off your entire purchase, which is awesome. 10% off is great. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this is, I was excited about doing this because here's what's awesome about ARC. They didn't tell me that like, oh, you have to use exclusively our stuff or anything like that. There's nothing like that on the table.
Sure.
And that was really important with me too, because God damn it, I love my Shimano, St. Croix and Daiwas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cool, I'll do that, but you got to give me 40 rods to replace.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm all about mixing stuff up and changing it around and everything. And I will tell you, the ARC Bait Finesse stuff, people have been, I think every single person that I have spoken with on the show regarding Bait Finesse style fishing has said great things. They're like, that gravity reel is a fantastic reel for the money. And this is before they even had the rods. So, when I say these things are new, guys, like they are, like Kat just got hers. And I was talking to them like, God damn, that thing looks awesome. I'm like, how's it fish? And she's like, well, I got one that was a little bit like more of a heavier power, so that I could, have some finessey applications that I can throw into like a little bit heavier grass and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like she's like, it's fucking badass. It's fucking great. So it is, I'm stoked about it. So for you guys, go over to ARC and use the code Jigs and Bigs and save yourself 10%. In fact, if you go to jigsandbigs.com, we have a link right there. You can just go ahead and tap that sucker and it'll bring you right over there. And I believe that link might even actually enter the code for you. You might want to double check that. But it's a great way to obviously help the show, which we appreciate, but we can stand behind the brand ARC and feel good about it. You know,
Yep.
It's quality stuff. I think it says a lot, the fact that Joe carried ARC in the shop, and it's fucking badass. Now, I will say,
I think we were like the only retailer on the East Coast for them at the time.
for a while. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, there have been some folks that have popped up with like as ambassadors previously, or that would like rave about their stuff. Obviously, there's a series of pros that have their own signature line and things like that.
Yep.
So they are backing it obviously, and they have like a brand new line. I forget who it is. A new signature line that's coming out, or that is out now. But you know, they've got a bunch of gear available regarding rods, reels, baits, everything. ARC does tungsten, and it's the reels. I
forgot they did tungsten.
They do tungsten. It is bananas, man.
The reinforcer, that was the word. I'm sorry, I kept saying enforcer. The reinforcer was like their high end one. It still is. It looks like.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, that's the big one. But even then, you know, it's like, oh, the invokers are. Oh, that's a limited edition invoker. Yeah, it's freaking crazy.
See, like there was the Genesis was just coming out. As I had the shop, I had some of them. The Commander wasn't. They didn't have the Tharps. I had the Lancers. I had the Cobbs. Obviously, the Catalyzer came out kind of at the end.
It's the Wes Logan signature series is the new one that they just added.
Okay, yeah. So he's been with them a few years. He must just finally begin his same thing with Brandon Polinick. I think he's still with them.
Yeah.
But,
yep. Yeah, they're you know, I mean, they're well, they even have ice rods too.
Yes.
Good to know, man. Good to know. But like, yeah, go check out arcrods.com. And check it out. Use the code Jigs and Bigs. You can save yourselves. And the big thing for us is like we want to be able, like we feel confident about this brand, and we can stand by it, and it adds value, we hope, to you guys for being Jigs and Bigs listeners, that you can save yourself a little bit. Good stuff. Binya goes, I didn't realize that they had a full line of baits. You know, there's a series of lipless cranks that I had dabbled with for a while. And
I still have some of them.
These are great.
I like them.
Yeah, they are. They're really, really solid. I'm pretty badass. I'm pretty stoked about that. I think they're pretty badass. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. What do we have next to talk with? Oh, we're talking broke on the boat. Broke on the boat. This is going to be good. This is, you guys.
This is a good one.
You don't even know.
It's time to go broke on the boat. Joe and Bobby's guide to fishing your funds away.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
You're goddamn right. You're not ever going to financially.
Bobby, I'm really not going to financially recover from this one.
No, I believe that. I believe it 100%. So why don't you go ahead and tell the tale? Paint the the scene for us.
So as the older guy that I am, you know what I mean? So I'm actually kind of getting to the space where like these apps and stuff that the young kids do, I'm not so privy to. And so there's this app out there called Whatnot. Okay. So Whatnot, I don't know, like you've probably seen ads for it on Instagram, on TikTok, stuff like that.
Yep.
Download it, but don't download it. Yeah. I'm saying you should, but I'm saying you shouldn't at the same time.
Yep.
Because this app was I guess I was actually talking to my 16-year-old about it. He's like, yeah, I know Whatnot. It's like, it started like, it was just like sports cards, like collectibles, like stuff like that. Like, and it turned into like shoes. And now it's like, there's some fishing gear on there, everybody. And not only is there fish, so they're live auctions. You literally have your payment method and stuff in there, and you have your phone up, and you literally just swipe to bid on it. And the auctions are like, it's like 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to bid and win this thing. You know what I mean? God. And then when it gets down to like when it gets down under 10 seconds, it goes, and someone bids, it goes back to 10 seconds. Oh, so yeah, so it's quick, dude. It's real fast.
This is all about that impulse buy, then.
Exactly, which is smart for them. So was it last night we were talking, Bobby? Yeah, it was last night, right?
I think so.
Or yesterday afternoon. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we so I'm on this thing. I'm just like, oh, let me check the fishing. There's a fishing thing in here. And there's a couple sellers that were live. And it was a lot of like JDM baits.
Yeah.
I got like a couple new colored limited edition out of Japan colored Pop Maxes.
Mm-hmm.
He actually did a whole I didn't do this one. I bid for this next thing I'll talk about, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like, shouldn't have done that. Like, fuck, like someone needs a bid. It was a set of 5 of these, and you know I love my Pop Maxes.
Oh yeah.
It was a set of 5 of it was a collection of like these 5 colors that like were only in this collection.
Oh God.
Yeah, and like I think when I hit it, it was at like $170 or something like that.
Oh my!
And I think
God.
it ended up going because that was like collect. I think it ended up going for like $230 or something like that.
Shit.
Yeah, but dude, it was a ton of JDM stuff. I grabbed a couple things yesterday, nothing crazy. I grabbed Bobby because I saw this because I'm a big Pop Max guy from Mega Bass, and I saw they had a BFS Pop. It was like Pop BFS or something like that that Mega Bass makes. I was like, that's perfect for Bobby. That gives me a reason to bid on this thing. So I got that for good old Bobby roast beef,
which is awesome because I have 0 BFS topwaters.
Dude, how sick is that going to be on a BFS
timing.
rod, dude?
It's going to be a blast.
That's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Whatnot app. So I went in there. So I ended up getting a couple Pop Maxes yesterday. I got actually, I'm going to tell you. I can go right into the app and see what I ordered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go on it. And this is like one of those things where you're like, if someone's live, like while you're laying in bed, dude, like it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
It's like time wasting. So it's like, it feels like a game, but
yeah, dude,
I wonder how profitable this is for the retailers that are selling this stuff.
Right. It's weird.
Cause like I remember way back in the day, Sean the Fisherman one day calling me and saying like,
dude, have you ever heard of this thing called Temu or Timu?
Oh, and I was like, I think I've heard my kids talk about that. I'm like, I don't know. What is it? He was like, I don't know. There might be some cool shit in there that we can pick up for cheap and like do like some interesting fucking shenanigans with. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then like, but this sounds like it could be dangerous because this is like name brand stuff.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's like legit. Like, so these for some reason I can't figure out how to see exactly what I ordered, but and
they've gamified it. They probably want it that way, so you can't have buyer's remorse and be
exactly.
Like,
yeah, so it's like yesterday it was like a bunch of Mega Bass JDM stuff that it was shit. What was the other one? It's like their cicada bait that I got. That fucking topwater walking bait.
Oh, the smaller cicada one. Yes.
What is it?
A cicada.
Yeah, I forget what it's like in the name. I forget what it is, but I got one of those for like a real good deal. Like that's a straight up JDM bait from them. And shoot. And I think there was a special edition color Vision 110 I grabbed.
Oh, well, I mean, you got to win in Rome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Dan is fucking savage. He goes, maybe you should get off your phone, then you might beat me. Oh my God.
A lot of chirping to the person who bought all your beers last night.
I know. Bogley goes, he says, I have a JDM BFS Aldebaran for sale. I know, Ryan. I wish I could pull the plug on that shit. I really do, but the time is wrong. It's more wrong than it's ever been. But I will tell you, anybody who is interested in that Aldebaran, snatch it up. It's a good fucking reel.
Yes.
It's a good fucking reel. Man, that is why. Yeah, I'm interested. I want to take a look. But like, I know, like, it's funny with like auctions because, you know, I remember when eBay first started and people were like, oh yeah, it's great. You can go and you can get these auctions and it can be really good for the buyer. You know, they might be able to get in on this auction on this random item at a really great price. You know what I'm saying? Or it might be really great for the seller. if they just keep driving that price up. So it's like it could be good for everybody, but
let's go. Let's all go on a live auction. Oh, we're on a live auction right here on the show.
Oh my God.
Panda.
Oh, so 13 fishing trash panda. Here we
trash
go.
panda. Okay.
Ooh.
This is the walking trash.
$4, $7, $8. Oh, $10.
All discontinued.
All discontinued baits.
Oh shit.
Colors too. We'll run
Yep.
through 2 of them. Anybody looking for something?
$10 someone got it for.
I mean, that retails at what, like something like 14?
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, probably. And if they don't exist
If
anymore.
they don't exist
I like
anymore,
the trash
yeah.
panda frogs, actually.
Yep. Yeah. It's a popular one.
So there's 32 people in this live auction right now.
Fuck.
Let's see what else we have here.
Another glass.
Rod. This guy's Rod.
Monster. That is a classic big fish bait right there.
He's just doing bags of baits. I'm not interested in that. We're not interested in that here. Jigs and Bigs.
$2 is great.
What else? What do we got here? Some custom painted baits. We're waiting the next item. So yeah, it's. I mean, you see, it's just a live auction there. He shows the bait. He turns the bidding on and. Game. What's it? Oh, so this is a Vision 1. Oh, this is a Vision 110.
Oh my God.
10 max in it.
You guys are seeing it here live.
We're doing it. We're doing it. We're live on the show.
He says we're fucking here live on the show.
Here we go. Oh God, it's up to $20.
Hold on.
22. Go. I'm doing it.
He's doing it. I'm putting Joe on the big screen right here. You guys
come on
and enjoy.
Oh, I want. Oh, no. Oh, my God. I just bid against myself like an idiot.
Oh, my God. Oh, you can do that shit.
We just won a Vision 110, everybody.
Yes.
American Vet Fishing. Hell yeah.
Mega Bass has your number, man. 100%. 100%, dude. They have your number. Damn.
Dude, so he's doing a bunch of Mega Bass baits right now. So I'm closing this app because I will walk away from the podcast just to buy all this shit.
He says no.
So we're putting the phone out of reach. My wife's gonna fucking murder me, dude.
We need a third screen of Joe's phone. We don't.
No, I don't want to go into any accidental windows.
That's what I'm saying. It could be a mess. It could be bad. Bad things, Eli. Bad things, Eli.
We should maybe you know what, Eli, just for you. Maybe one of these shows, like the last 5 minutes of the show of the live,
will be like hack our phones.
I'll get one of my other cameras. I'll put it on my phone and we'll bid together. We'll all do it together.
Oh my God. But the ultimate broke on the boat. This is in the right segment. This is absolutely in the right segment. It's those little incremental things you pick up. You're like, what is it? It's $10 for a fucking. Oh,
maybe I should set up that, that one secret credit card I got on there just so I don't get yelled at.
That's not a terrible idea.
If you guys are married and you're a fisherman, you don't have a secret credit card, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh my goodness. So guys, we are going to take a short break. We're going to come back with our interview with Corey Hart from HH Custom Baits. I can attest to these baits performing unbelievably well for me pretty much the entirety of the Scavenger Hunt Open, and also was it HH Customs? Yeah, it was HH Customs in the slot limit tournament too that I was using, and today I was using more HH Custom stuff. I'm telling you, like, I just funnel my money to Corey is basically what's happening at this point. And
yep.
and it's I have Dark Horse Tackle to thank for creating this monster. We're going to take a short break,
the virtuous
guys.
Cycle, as Zek would say.
The unbelievable virtuous cycle, indeed. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back. We got the live well after that interview, folks. Remember, our jig heads and everything, you guys aren't going to see that interview. That's going to be in the finished podcast. But we'll be back. We got the live well. We got a couple of questions to talk about there. Specifically, we're talking more baits. Don't go too far, guys. We got more coming up. We'll see you in just a bit. All Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here with another angler feature segment here. We got a guest in the beef seat once again, and this one is kind of interesting. Something happened this week for the very first time. First and foremost, we've got Corey Hart from HH Custom Baits with us, and if you have just tuned in to the show for the very first time, this is probably your first time hearing me mention HH Custom Baits, but it's no stranger to the vernacular here at Jigs and Bigs because they have been putting in work for me. But we've got the owner, the boss at the establishment, Corey Hart with us, and something kind of crazy happened. This should have been recorded earlier this week, but Corey had a little bit of a hiccup in his schedule. His son arrived during the time slot we were going to record. So congratulations on the new addition, Corey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Everything good with the little man? All 10 fingers, 10 toes. Everybody's good. How's mom?
Yeah, everything is all good. We were thinking he was going to be a little bit earlier than he came, but he showed up and it all happened. It all happened perfect. It all went smoothly. It happened very quickly, but we're grateful that everyone's happy and healthy and awesome. And we're back. So
this is amazing because
doing good.
If nothing else, like we obviously everybody who's ever sat in this seat has fished at least once in their time, at least that's nothing crazy. We've had a good amount of folks that make baits and are in the industry at some point as guests. We have never had somebody who was hot off the heels of having another child and rescheduling for that. So if anything, you've definitely gone into the halls of the Jigs and Bigs Guest Hall of Fame with that one for sure.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a ride so far.
Let's dive into it though. One of the biggest things about this segment when it comes to having a guest on for the very first time, and I say it all the time, I'm a sucker for an origin story. Tell us how you kind of came into this whole world of fishing, where it was introduced to you, and then walk us along the road to where it is right now, where you've got a pretty great little bait company going on.
Oh yeah, thank you. I've been fishing a lot, probably like a lot of other people, since I could hold a rod. 3-4 years old. Dad started taking me out, and I've been fishing ever since. So the baits, I wasn't into baits until later on. It was always kind of a thing where I would go and enjoy time with Dad, and he would bring the gear and give me a rod, and I would listen to what he told me, and he taught me a ton of things over the years. And I really got into it more heavily in high school is when I started getting some of my own equipment. I started getting into, the bait world a little bit of tinkering with things and trying different stuff. And that's really where it took off for me to actually enjoy fishing for more than just going out with Dad and enjoying catching the fish. So that brought it more full circle to me. It turned into more of the chase that everybody is always talking about. Unlocking the puzzle and, figuring everything out that way. So that's where I got started in fishing itself. And that was mostly largemouth, smallmouth fishing. We do a little bit of striper fishing when I was younger too. With some live bait guided trip kind of things. Always fishing little ponds and creeks and stuff. And then moving forward into high school. And then I went to college, Penn State. And while I was there, I think it was a Christmas actually. My in-laws got me a Man Crate subscription box. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I remember that.
They do projects and stuff. One of the times I did a knife building thing where I made a fixed blade knife. And this one was for bait making actually. And I didn't know anything about it at the time, or if that was a feasible thing as a smaller operation. I always thought of big factories and that kind of stuff.
Of course, yeah.
So that was really rudimentary, a lot of just really basic kind of materials and supplies. But I got into that, and it was interesting starting off for sure, because there's a lot of things you just don't know. And at the time there wasn't a ton of resources. This was back in 2018, I believe. I started more heavily in 2019, but I think about 2018. And I started working on just little projects here and there, messing around with it. Smoked out a microwave in my parents' house in college, messing around with plastics, and learned a lot of things. But it was really the ability to make something on your own, go out, catch fish with it, and it just kind of tied it all together. the fishing part that you love, but then also the equipment, the gear, and then the baits, and then you put the work in to build things, and it all comes together. So
that's awesome.
That really got me set off into it from there.
That's freaking pretty awesome, dude. Like, I mean, you know, and it's a common kind of story, and it's crazy that like that kit from like that man crate was the kind of the tipping point right there, where you were just like, oh, we'll try this out and see what it is. And it's amazing how a little introduction to something like that can set like everything. It's like the butterfly effect, you know. It's crazy. I do want to talk about, like, I think your bait company is really unique. And I'm curious, I say that because like a lot of the presentations that you have on the site, like the focus or a lot of the buzz is on the micro jigs and the downsized presentations, which I, in the last couple of years, have been really truly embracing that small presentation to get over the hump of either fishing pressure or tougher conditions, and use it as a way to manipulate bites when sometimes conventionally sized tackle is kind of tough. And I feel like the same thing can be said on the oversized, you know, elements of things. Yep. Like if you change that size profile and get these fish out of their comfort zone one way or the other, like it can be a real positive thing. Is that something that's played a role in your fishing specifically, like more finesse application?
Yeah, it definitely has. I fish a lot. So I guess when I first started out, I fished all spinning tackle growing up.
Yep.
I didn't have any. I started with, you know, like the push button Zebcos, and then went to spinning tackle. And like my dad specifically would fish a lot of, you know, regular techniques, but he always preferred using spinning gear. I guess when he had started fishing a lot of the casting reels and stuff that he was exposed to, he didn't have a great experience with, so he stuck mostly to spinning tackle. So I started there, and then kind of when I got into it more heavily, I went and in high school got my own bait casting gear and got into that, you know, more power fishing. And as I moved on into fishing, and then around into when COVID hit and everything like that, I got more interested in the finesse side of things because of all that pressure and everything that was going on.
For sure.
And then also from a business perspective, I saw how saturated I think a lot of the market was, and that just mainstream power fishing, regular standard fishing, tournament angling, that kind of thing. And I wanted to find a niche where, you know, it was something different. And also the BFS bait finesse system. Tackle and baits. I was exposed to that around that time. So I was pretty early into that, where I got some gear. Actually, it was off of AliExpress, because you couldn't get gear like mainstream at that time for bait finesse. And when I got into BFS, that's what really set me down that finesse rabbit hole, because I love fishing casting gear and power fishing and that type of thing. But I also was really enjoying the finesse side and getting more bites, and especially if you don't have a ton of time to devote to going out and fishing a lot. I definitely did in school more, but as you know, graduated and moved on into working and everything, the time that I had, I really enjoyed BFS because I was able to get a ton of bites and catch a lot of fish at the same time, bigger fish too. And it really, I found that I excelled, you know, around, like you were saying, with that pressure. And with all the people that came into the sport around that time frame. I just found that that all came together. And also I started doing more river fishing. I got into going down to the Susquehanna, and that's really where the whole like micro jig and small bait thing took off for me specifically, because I was able to, I say, like design, build, and test out there for smallmouth. And that's what really got me into that niche specifically. And I just wanted to move away a little bit from that really saturated market and just kind of be able to focus more on doing one or two or a few things really, really well, and just trying to hone that craft and be the best that I could be
for sure
in that area. And that's really how I got started down that niche and being focused there like we are now.
That's awesome, dude. And it's so wild too, because like, I mean, I've got a situation that arose it was about a week ago. I was fishing with a buddy of mine, and like, he's one of these guys that will, when we first started fishing together, I thought he like knew everything. Like I was like, oh, this guy knows what's up. He uses bait casters. Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And I've known this guy, I should say, like going on like 30 years now, a long time. And he is like, come to find out, like he just likes throwing lures. You know, I mean, that's what it gets down to. And he has a specific niche that he likes to fish. And I've taken a leap. It started last year. I had a conversation with the guys over at Aggressively Average Anglers, and I was like, I kind of want to look into BFS and see what it's like. So I took a recommendation from them and I put a combo together, and it's just been like amazing since then. I have caught fish on those like power fishing finesse profiles. That I had no business catching on such light gear, like no business whatsoever. Fish as large as like 24 inches. The fish as large as 27 just this past summer. Like some absolute giants on leaders that just spiked my blood pressure like you would not believe. And it is exhilarating. And that's what I'm in this for, is like the adventure, the journey, you know, all that stuff. So it's what's crazy is my buddy and I were on this body of water, and I have acquired a good handful of different BFS combos, because I do think that a lot of folks, they get into it thinking it's like a novelty almost, you know, not realizing that. Or they'll put together a combo and they're like, well, I like this a lot and I want to throw these things, and there it is, like it's a whole separate spectrum of like powers and actions on rods and like what the reels are capable of. And it's almost like its own like little niche in that sort of world. So I told him, I was like, when I rig up my boat, I put now 2 BFS combos on there. I have an ultralight combo and I have a light combo. The light combo I use more for like bottom stuff, like jigs and small tubes. Like I was killing them on a juvie crawl recently, and that's what was on there. And the ultralight, I tend to put like more moving baits. So I'm going to plug your baits here, because lately the 2 that I have just been absolutely killing them on have been the micro koosh ball bladed jig, which has just been absolutely amazing, and the guppy. The 3-inch guppy on a small tungsten jig head is just fire. And I happen to have another ultralight combo, and I said to my buddy, I go, listen, man, I know you don't like to throw the finessey stuff. I get it. I go, but I'm going to bring this if you want to try it. I didn't say a thing to him, Corey. I didn't say a word. He just decided he wasn't getting any bites. So he grabs that BFS combo and makes a cast. And this is a Ben Key ultralight rod with a Zephyr reel, right? Like it's got the lightest braid that I have on any of my stuff on it. Like this thing casts a mile. And he goes and he makes one cast with, he's like, holy crap. And I'm like, what? I thought he had a fish on. I turn around and he's like, this thing casts unbelievably. He's like, I don't think I've ever had such a far cast with like such like minimal effort. And I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. The fact that he didn't backlash at all in that first cast, I was like, because normally that first cast, when somebody grabs one of my BFS combos, we're going to be picking something out. It's not going to be heavy duty, but it's something. And dude, he had an absolute day with that one combo. It was the only thing that was getting bit. It was a guppy that he was throwing. And I was like, I grabbed my ultralight. I was like, the blades aren't working. I wasn't getting bit on anything vibrating. So I tied a jig head on, put a guppy on it. We just filled the boat. It was nuts. And he's a believer now. He's like, this is crazy. And I feel like that's one of the things I'm trying to do is educate people that, you know, if you like to vary your presentations, you like that ability to fish a bait a little bit more efficiently and faster than with spinning gear, this is going to allow you to do it, but you're going to be able to throw those smaller size profiles, you know, and it does make a huge difference. It really does.
It does. For sure. I think what you said was a good point about it being people seeing it as a novelty.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen that, because in my opinion, my view of it, especially since I've gotten into it several years ago, I think there's almost 2 sects of people, like 2 groups of people that enjoy BFS. I think one of them is like the more pure side of it, that, like you were saying, that almost feels like a novelty because it's like a challenge of how small light you can go.
Yep.
And then there's another section that I would fall more into as like a practical Just better way to present smaller profiles on a bait caster for regular fishing. And that's more where I fall into. And I think that's where even some of like the tournament crowd and all that, I think maybe missing the boat a little bit, because it can just replace spinning gear, and you can do everything you can with a spinning setup just a little bit better, in my opinion.
And it's interesting too, because like there is when I bank fish, I primarily only take a BFS combo or two, depending on if I know that body of water. If I know that body of water and I'm like, yeah, this ultralight's going to do it. Like I can do, this is a one and done, we'll be good to go. I'll take that with me because it's so versatile, you know? Versus, you know, when you go and you're like, and this allows me to save my spinning combos for very technique specific stuff. Like a lot of people think like, oh, you're just getting rid of your spinning reels. Wrong. My drop shot rod never has a drop shot rig. It never has something else tied on, unless I'm fishing with Becca, and then she'll cut that off and throw whatever on it because she loves that specific rod. And it's the same thing with like my 7-foot medium. That is primarily used for like weightless soft plastics, something super specific. Or sometimes I'll throw like, if I have a bait that's just a little bit too heavy to throw on one of my BFS combos, I'll throw that there. So if I'm like just a hair over a quarter ounce, I'll throw that on that, something like that. But it's just, it's bananas how like you can fit these things into your stuff. And I'm a weird angler. Like I look at my arsenal of rods and reels as a spectrum instead of just like, these are the rods I like for this technique and that's it. I will go and say like, because I'll carry multiple reels, you know, like the reel that I use. So there's one rod that I use for like topwater and jerk baits. And generally with topwater, I like a little bit slower of a reel than I do. That's not true. Like if I'm doing a walking bait, I like a faster reel. So on walking baits and jerk baits, I'll use an 8-speed reel. On ploppers, I'll use a 6. You know, and it's the same rod because the action and the power is ideal, you know, and the characteristics are there. So I'll just kind of swap things out. We're getting on a wicked tangent here.
Yeah, you got it dialed for sure. I can't say that I'm that specific to like the gear ratios being. I have a lot of just 7 to 8 speed reels, and I make them work for a lot of things.
And that's the thing.
But I think you have it dialed. If
you're going with like a 7, you can't lose. You really can't. But it was when I started jig fishing heavily, I was like, oh, faster reel is really nice to be able to pick up that line. And maybe that's why I like BFS so much, because a lot of those reels lean toward those faster gear ratios.
Very true. Yeah, that's what I say for sure. Like when I first got into it, the thing that really got me excited about it was when I got my first BFS rod was they don't make it anymore. It was a Shimano Sensolite 7-foot light extra fast. And that was the first. I had several of them, and I should have bought like 10 of them at the time, but because they were only like $40 and they were incredibly sensitive for 40. Like you could have sold that rod for 150 and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Easily. Exactly. Yep.
And I mean, when I first got that rod, when you think of ultralight and you think of light, because I don't use a ton of the ultralight BFS stuff. I use more of like the light, light, fast, light, moderate, fast, extra fast, that kind of thing. But when I got that first one, it was rated a 1/16 to a 1/4 ounce. Yep. And I felt the action on that thing and how it was so light but so crisp at the same time.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
That's a great description.
Yeah, like when you think ultralight, they're like those noodle, really moderate fast kind of, or not moderate fast, just like moderate or extremely parabolic and whippy is what people think when they say that. And it just doesn't feel like a crisp rod that would have a lot of sensitivity to it.
Yep.
And so when you get those first couple, when I felt that first BFS rod like that, I was like, oh, I understand like how this can be used. It's so light, but you still have that sensitivity and that crispness to have some power to it at the same time.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I've kind of learned with some of the ultralight stuff is, for me, a lot of the times it comes to the cast. Like that ultralight stuff is like, there's a world of difference between that. I think it's a Magic Craft Ben Key, and I'm using a Pig Jigs custom rod for my other ultralight. Okay. That rod barely ever leaves my hand, dude. Barely ever. It is so nice. It's the shortest rod that I've got. It's the only one piece that I've got. it is the thing I like about it so much is that it casts so well because it's an ultralight. It loads up. And it's a hair more moderate, just a touch, than like my Shimano Majestic XT, which is unbelievably fast and is great when I'm like working something on the bottom, like a micro jig or something, like a koosh ball jig, something like that. I like to throw on that. But like if I'm throwing a guppy, I can launch that thing a country mile and, get unbelievably casting because it just loads up perfectly. It is scary on that. It wasn't that rod. It was the Ben Key rod because I didn't have that pig jigs in time. I recently fished St. Clair, and I picked up a Tatula 70 to put on that pig jigs rod. And I was at St. Clair, and this was the last day we were there. It was Easter Sunday, last cast of the day, and I hook into a 4-pound smallie on an ultralight rod. When I tell you that my heart was in my throat, like it was crazy, the anxiety going on here. And we had fished like 6 or 7 hours. The microphones had died. Like I caught video footage of it, but there's no audio at all. Like it's such a but what an unbelievable fish. It was crazy, dude. One of the things that I think needs to be mentioned is like, first off, like big shout out and thank you to Dark Horse Tackle for really being the introduction to HH Customs, because that's what it was. That's the welcome mat. And that's why I love Dark Horse, because that's what they do. And this is going to come around full circle in a bit. My first bait that I got from HH Customs was the koosh ball micro jig. And with it was almost like, I forget the name of it. It's almost like a chunk style trailer.
Yep, it's the 2.5 Koosh Crawls, our custom trailer. I designed to pair up with those. Yep. It was one, and this goes back because that you had collabed with Dark Horse. This is a couple of years ago now, with that first one. So that I had gotten this in that month's box, and I was out. I was fishing this one area near this dam, looking for fish that were kind of like holding on to that deeper water or looking to transition. This must have been in the fall, I think, and I was fishing around the edge of. Basically along the bank leading up to this dam, and I was in my kayak, and I was getting like some taps on like a drop shot. I want to say they just weren't committing to it. And I was like, I'm going to try throwing this. And I hooked up immediately. And then from there on out, I just had like a great day. I put a bunch in the boat, ran out of time, had to get off the water. I then did an interview with an angler, or maybe it might have been a phone call for one of the stories from the back of the bait shop, where he had caught like a 30-inch pike on that koosh ball. Okay.
Cool. It was a story for behind the bait shop, or the back room of the bait shop, because the story was he had been hitting the fish whistle and it was pretty out of his tree, and he hooks into this giant pike and he was losing his mind. So I'm like, this was about the point where I was like, there's definitely something here with this smaller presentation. Fish are eating it when they're just finicky. So this was like when the wheels started turning, and then I think it was the guppy and the koosh ball bladed jig were in the same box, if I'm not mistaken.
They were.
And right there, I was like, these are great. Like, this is a great pairing. I'm like, this is, because I'm a huge fan on that downsized bladed jig. I did a trip to Chickamauga, and our guide was like, you got to try this. And he had me throw a Jackal Dara break. And when I tell you, Corey, that at the Columbus Fishing Expo in 24, I dropped jackhammer money on a bunch of those Dara breaks because I could not find the weight that I wanted. Like, I could find 3/16 ounce, which is fine, but I was looking for an 1/8. And I found this one JDM shop from Ohio that had them, and I bought them out. I think I paid $17 or $18 a pop.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That's the deal with the JDM stuff.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, like, they put in work. Work. And like anything, like I said, I bank fish a lot, BFS. That's when you're going to lose the most baits, is when you're fishing on the bank. And when I saw, you see these domestic bait makers adopting this bait finesse aspect, this downsized power fishing technique, and getting into it. I'll be honest. And I wish this wasn't going on the podcast, but if you guys are getting into this and you want to avoid dropping the JDM prices, look at HH Customs. Look at these domestic, the ones that are jumping on now, because I'm telling you, like, I rigged, and this was all just, I purchased a bunch of this right through Dark Horse. And I loaded my tackle box with a bunch of those micro koosh ball bladed jigs. And I was like, the guppies are just paying off. And like, when I talk about the guppies, like, I'm a slut for Kitech. An absolute, I will throw a fat impact on like a 2.8 all day long. And it's great. When I started, so last week, one of the things that Jigs and Bigs does that's unique is we do a multi-species scavenger hunt, right? There's a monthly, happens April through October, every single month. It's a list of 20 some different species, and you collect points for the different species that you catch. This year we kicked off an open, which instead of being a month long is only 7 days. And this will qualify you to be in the championship, which will happen next year. I went out that day and I'm like, there's money on the line, 7 days. I got to make these 5 days I'm going to fish this week count. We're going to start throwing Kitechs. And they were getting destroyed. They were just getting shredded, which happens. Those plastics are soft and their action is almost untouchable. And I'm like, you know what? I made a decision. And this is in my first video. I put a guppy on that jig head instead. And I started getting bit. I didn't change that guppy all day. And I probably caught 20 fish. Like,
I love hearing that.
And some of these are chain pickerel too. So like, this guppy had teeth marks all over it and stuff. So it was much more durable. I was like, this is great. The nice thing is about the guppy is it has a really, really nice belly roll that like your fat impact does not have. And I'm like, sometimes that action can be the difference, but it has a really, really nice movement in the water. And I cleaned house that week. From that moment where I switched to the guppy, I didn't change that unless I went to that koosh ball bladed jig. And I caught 10 species in a week.
That's awesome.
I almost took second place, but I got sniped at the end by John Higgins, you son of a bitch.
That's awesome. I hear a lot of things like that about multi-species for sure, all over the place. I mean, whether it's, I've had striper, muskie, pike, crappies, even big green sunfish, everything in between. So that's the cool part about it, really.
And I love that.
Do that.
And like with the multi-species stuff, like I can trout fish using like small swim baits. Which is an amazing sort of revelation, when you're like fishing super clear water in a river where these fish, like you're making eye contact and you're able to just get them to bite a tiny swim bait, or even better, like a lot of people think it's crazy when I tell them I've caught trout on a bladed jig. It's just wild.
I've had guys crushing steelhead on those.
Yeah.
Just smashing them. So it's one of those things that it's probably our most popular bait that we have. And it makes me really happy because it's perfect for any skill level of angler, and basically wherever you're fishing, anything that eats small bait fish will eat those just about. I mean, it's you can't hardly do something wrong with it.
Yep.
And as long as you can cast and retrieve, I'm excited to send it to you because I know you're going to have a good time with it.
Definitely.
And you're going to have a positive experience. So that's why I enjoy that for sure.
It's awesome. And you have some new stuff that's coming out too, like the koosh ball micro buzz.
Yep.
That's
and
new.
The micro spin. Yep.
And the micro spin. And the micro spin just looks so nice, dude.
Yeah, those are awesome.
And now, do both of these have that swivel head action?
They do, yeah. Dude. So I know we're on audio here, but I'll do this for you. So the micro buzz itself and the micro spin is just a really interesting concept because I have also the micro cyclops buzz bait and I have a river runner micro spinner bait, and those two things are more traditional styles of those types of baits. But also, as I talk to people, as I fish with the koosh ball for BFS, that something about that head, that hook, the keeper on it, everything about it for BFS is just like dialed in. It's like perfect for that BFS application. And so I just got to thinking about different options, how to build things. I thought of like the classic beetle spin and looked at how that was built and saw that was a jig head, but also had the wire on it. And you're able to fish a non-traditional style spinnerbait or I haven't seen any buzz baits built like this, and that led me down that rabbit hole after doing the micro spin. But it's a traditional wire, but it's not connected in a traditional way of being poured into the lead itself. And so by having it attached through the eye of the jig head, it creates this free swinging, articulating effect. With whether it's the buzz bait or the spinner bait, that gives it some really unique characteristics and gives it, I would say, some advantages over traditional style spinner baits or buzz baits, but also gives you the ability to have that koosh ball design that is, all of our custom colors we do. It's the same hook and head, the same weight sizes, but it's that perfect profile. It's that perfect terminal tackle for BFS. And then I just found a way to be able to utilize that with a spinner bait or a buzz bait setup. And as I tested them, it was kind of similar to when I did the first micro blades, where I got them in the water and I felt the vibration, I saw the action, and I was like, okay, that's definitely going to be something special for sure. And I tested the micro spin first. The first ones I tested were with the single blades. I was actually throwing, this is my favorite color of all time.
Mine too.
My area.
Yeah, mine too.
Killer Gill. I went out actually pretty early spring on the Juniata River near, that's Susquehanna. It's a little bit more north of where I'm at generally. But that's Susquehanna River, near Susquehanna, and the Juniata feeds into it. And I went out there with the Killer Gill. It's this color, Killer Gill, with the single hammered copper Indiana blade. And I went out and threw that on my third cast. I thought I ran into a log, and it was a near 4-pound river smallmouth.
All right.
On BFS, 10-pound braid, 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I knew as soon as I hooked that fish and saw him, I saw how he was hooked and the action on that thing. And I got really excited because that free swinging head on that spinner bait, things with spinner baits that can be challenging at times, especially on lighter weights, is having them roll or blow out. And with that free swinging articulating head, that it does not do that because of the ability for the wire to move independently and the head to move independently of the wire itself. So it can basically keel out with the weight of the jig head below it. And then it doesn't roll one way or the other because it's all one piece. Instead, it can do what it needs to do. And it gives you so much more versatility in not only how you fish it, but the speeds at which you can fish it. And then the way that it swims. And you actually get some secondary action that you wouldn't see as much in a regular spinnerbait because it has that ability to articulate and move. And like you were saying with the body roll and the guppy, if you pair that with that spinnerbait or with this buzzbait, you get that roll, and that roll is imparted into the actual jig itself. So you get not only the tail kick with the swim bait, but you also get that head roll that you would see on like just a jig head swim bait underneath of that buzz bait or that spinner bait wire, which is just awesome.
That's freaking awesome. And it's amazing. I'm glad you mentioned the specific blade styles and colors, because that's one thing that's nice about that type of a setup. You can change out the combinations. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, oh, this color isn't working, but like the gold blade, like I'm a believer in a gold blade. Just where we are here, like we have a lot of golden shiners, stuff like that. Like gold blades, I tend to lean on a lot. And I know that there's some thought in different color blades for different, sky conditions, things like that. Totally understand that. And then there's the fact that fish can just be finicky. I've had situations before where like I've been throwing like a small like a beetle spin style presentation, and I've switched from a gold to a silver, and all of a sudden they turned on. But if you're in a situation and you're like, man, I'd really like to try this, but maybe with a different color, or maybe just changing it out to it. If you buy a variety, you can mix and match and kind of like fool around with that a little bit. Because I assume, looking at some of the pictures, it looks like as if there's a clip that kind of goes around.
Well, the thing with that is that this is not, unlike the beetle spin, there's one issue with the beetle spin, and is that with the durability of it, although you can change it, you can have issues there. This is not something that comes off.
Oh, actually, I'm zooming in, and you're right. It does. It looks like there's,
and that's on purpose.
Yep.
So I have that's not going to come off. It's crimped. It's not going to go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
So that is on purpose for that durability.
It's more
So
rigid.
there's two sides of the coin. On one end, being able to change that would be nice, but on the other end of it, I wanted it to be a solid connection and a solid bait, as if you were buying a standard spinner bait or a buzz bait.
So
because
you
if you
get the
get
best of
into,
both
like
worlds.
I do, I mean, I fish on the Susquehanna.
Yep.
I'm catching 3 to 4.5 pound smallmouth cookie cutters, and you can catch 30, not maybe 30 or 40 of that size in a day, but you're going through a lot of fish all day.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, wanting to build something of this quality level, because like you were talking about that JDM market, that is kind of where I look as far as quality to match or compete with. I'm not looking at the Walmart special kind of quality levels, because and you know, our price point is fairly reasonable, but it also is a premium product. So when I build something with that in mind, that durability has to be there, and it definitely is. These are not going to come off ever with how that is built. There's a lot of wire bending and crimping and things involved in that, but I make sure that, and I've tested it myself, you know, using the same one all day long, that they're going to be solid. But what I do allow people to do, since we are, you know, completely custom, and most of what's being built with jigs and wire baits is on a lead time if you're buying from me directly. Like Dark Horse, who is our primary, I would say, person that we work with through retail. I don't do a ton of that, just out of the ability to make all this stuff as quickly as possible. I do have a small operation, a little bit of help, but I still build a lot of the wire type baits and things that can be difficult. But on the site, you have the ability, my website, you have the ability to choose with the micro spins, whatever blade combination you want, whether it's a single or tandem. I have 2 different options for a single. You can pick any blade combination to go with that single, or tandem, and you can actually design whatever tandem blade setup you want. So you can pick if you want to go like Indiana with a willow, if you want to go willow, Colorado, like that. You can pick whatever you want there and have what you want with whatever color. So that was the idea behind that, and to keep that quality level and to keep everything together, I decided to go that route, to not be changeable, but to have the durability there. That was important to me.
And that makes sense too, because let's be honest too, like a lot of like your hooks are substantial hooks. Like you've got part of the reason why I like the Koosh ball so much, as far as when I'm using a bladed jig, is that the shank of that hook is slightly longer than some other ones that are out there. And I find that there's a use for both. You know, sometimes you want that, if you're using a trailer that's somewhat longer, you want to put that hook point further back. And so it comes in really helpful. The customization, I think, is absolutely freaking awesome. Let's talk as far as like, what's your like 5-year plan look like for HH Customs? Like, what do you think is in the future for you?
Well, this is my first full year in this shop that I'm sitting in now. And we've grown every year continuously, since we started. I had a in-between year when we were building this place. So on my property now, this is a completely detached shop that I have here that was built out. So in between that period was definitely a challenge, to say the least, with dealing with all that goes into that. But we still did well and continue to grow. But as we got into the shop this year, it's really expanded even more because of the ability for everything to be together, the efficiency to be as high as it can, and then have just a really professional place to work. To do video, like you can see the sign behind me, the nice neon sign I got up and everything. But from here, my main challenge and the thing that I continue to work on is adding help to the shop. And adding trained people that can help me and can continue to maintain the quality level to continue to grow and expand. Because like when we talked about Dark Horse, my first order I did with them for like hundreds of jigs, I did it completely by myself at that time.
That's crazy.
Which was crazy, because doing things the way that I do a ton of volume, but I have it on that wait period. So I have the leeway in between building exactly what was ordered.
Yep.
And to do that amount of volume all at one time, trying to get done as quick as I could.
It's a challenge.
That definitely, showed me how much of a challenge keeping up with something like that would be.
Yep.
So I have brought on help part-time, have several people that help me, but in the next 5 years, it's definitely going to be training people
Yep.
to maintain the quality level and continue to grow from that perspective. And I have the space to do that now. And it's just a matter of finding the right people that are willing to work and are willing to maintain that quality level to continue to help me to grow, because I am definitely a perfectionist in how I build everything. And I maintain a really high quality standard. And in order to grow, really quickly, that would deteriorate a little bit. And I'm not willing to do that. So I'm just slowly and steadily, finding the right people and working with them and continuing to grow. So in the next 5 years, I would love to see, more part-time help in here, maybe even some full-time help in here with me.
Yep.
And continue to go that route. And if we can do some more things like with Dark Horse, we continue to do that. But there have been some things like the like our River Runner spinner baits, our Cyclops buzz baits, those types of things that those guys want, and I want to get them to them. But the amount of work that goes into those specifically, with I do all of the epoxy work on the heads individually, with eyes and everything like that, and all those things, that it just wasn't feasible for me to do that at that point. So as I continue to grow, I'd love to be able to make it accessible to more things like that.
Definitely.
Just the high labor time type of products is the biggest challenge to do that. And as I continue to train people, I'm hoping to be able to continue to expand that and make it more available. So for sure, we're moving in a great direction. We have experienced a ton of growth, this year alone already.
Yep.
Of course, I had my son was just born, and I have a 3-year-old. So it's definitely a challenge. This type of business is a grinder type of business to get all that labor done. When you're manufacturing things, right here in house, it's not subbed out anywhere. So it takes a ton of time, but the growth is really good right now, and I'm just going to continue slowly doing that and just keeping everything. Is this everything good?
Your main hustle, or are you also working while doing this?
So I've always been self-employed.
Yep.
I am also licensed in insurance.
Okay.
That's why I went to school, was for financial services.
Sure.
I was doing that full time up until about a year and a half ago. I was doing that full time. Since then, I've also been doing digital marketing.
Yep.
My wife and I, outside of this, she has a fully remote full time position doing digital marketing, but we also have a small digital marketing company that we do together. She does social media management for small companies, and I do web design.
Oh, there you go.
Building like my site, I built my entire site and do all the work for it, and I do that for other people. So that's what I do aside from this, and I have the flexibility to that's like a contract type of thing where you're doing specific projects, and then outside of that, the grind is here. So but with the growth we've had, it's enabled me to do that.
That is admirable right there, man. The fact that, and it does definitely help. Like when you are coming from a situation where you are reliant on yourself anyway, it's more allocating, like, I guess, not just time, but also like resources that you've got on your own. That's awesome, man. I think it's definitely looks like you're on the right, on the right track to really kind of taking things off. And I have heard nothing but amazing stuff from folks that when I tell them I'm throwing HH custom stuff, they're just like, oh, I've got a couple of those. They're fantastic. People get on my boat.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm like, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is a great swim bait. Cause like I said, I throw finesse swim baits specifically all the time. In fact, I'm putting together a combo that's just dedicated to have one for like more of that conventional size, that like 3+ inch, like 3 to 5 inch. Just because I use them all the time, and it's just, it makes sense to kind of carry. But, I have heard the feedback from other folks has been absolutely insane. The feedback from Zek alone I don't think there's a time that we've had him on the show or that I've seen him like for the Columbus Fishing Expo where he wasn't wearing your hat. Like that's his go-to hat. He's like, and I mean, dude's got a lot of hats. You know what I mean? He really does. He's just absolutely. It's just the folks that have used your stuff are raving about it, and I think it's absolutely good stuff. Let's shift gears and talk a little bit more about fishing and life in general. So, hot take: how do you feel about having another fishing buddy brought into the world? How's things there?
I'm stoked, man. Our plan was always to have 2 kids, and that happened. And we had a girl first. In my family, we always had boys. I have a brother, and my dad's brother had 2 boys as well. So I wasn't sure if I was going to have a son. Really, was the bottom line. After having my daughter, and I was content with that, honestly.
Sure.
She's awesome.
Yep.
And everybody always jokes that she's like my twin, acts the same way I did at that age. And she's been fishing with me already. So
that's awesome,
having a son too, on top of that is just going to be so much fun. I just got her first BFS rod to start with a Zebco 33. Yep.
Oh, dude, that's so great.
Yeah. It's a 4.5 foot. I have it right over in the shop over here because I just got it. It's a 4.5 foot. It's called a Handing Magic BFS rod. So you can find them on Amazon. They're not overly expensive. They're like $60 now.
Yeah.
But it's so cool because being like at my age, when I was little, when I was her age, I should say, I had like the ugly sticks and stuff with the push buttons. But this one is so sweet because it's a BFS rod. It's sensitive. It's got Fuji guides in it, but you can throw her little Zebco push button on it and she can fish for real. Like, with a good setup, throwing, I made some, I haven't told anybody about this yet, but I made some 1/8 ounce microblades with a little number 2 hook in it. That's even smaller.
Oh yeah.
For her specifically, throwing with like little grubs and little tiny swim baits and stuff. So, but I'm just couldn't be more excited to have another fishing buddy and have a son too that I can pass it on.
That's awesome.
I'm stoked.
That's awesome. Does your wife fish with you guys?
She would like to.
Gotcha.
She doesn't as much anymore. She definitely used to fish with me more.
That's awesome.
But having a 3-year-old, it's been a challenge.
It's tough for sure, man. I definitely can understand that. That's crazy. Let's talk. So when you do go out, are you primarily bank fishing, or do you go out? Do you have a boat? Do you kayak fish?
No, yeah, I have a little 16-foot tracker, Grizzly aluminum with a 25 horsepower jet on it. So
nice.
I fish the Susquehanna.
That's perfect.
It's a real little rig. Doesn't go super fast, but it's just enough. I got a jack plate on there that you can manually lift, and I slide around out there. And honestly, I go out and can outfish people in the $80,000 rock boats all the time.
Oh, of course,
it's fun. I had a kayak for a while, and after we moved into here and I got the boat, I ended up selling that. I had a native Titan 10.5 pedal kayak for a while.
Dude, I've got a native 13.5, and I love that boat.
Okay, it was an awesome boat.
It's not the kind of boat that I was going to bring like to the Susky. I don't think it's a fantastic river boat, but for lakes and ponds, still water, like it's a bass boat for one. It's really what it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, like I got that thinking the same thing. Like I couldn't do a boat at the time, and I wanted to get into something that I could stand up a little bit in and fish out of and have a little bit of mobility without a paddle. So having that pedal drive, it worked great for a little while. Once I got into the river stuff and I ended up getting the jet boat, I realized that's where I was going to spend a lot of my time. And to have that big boat, that big kayak sitting around, I ended up getting a good deal to a guy down in Maryland that was able to take it and enjoy it. So that worked out for the best, I think.
That is, I recently, so I'm coming up on my first full year of owning my boat. I bought, because I wanted to be able to do like a little bit of everything. So I bought a Lund Angler 1650. So it's a 16.5 foot boat, but it's got an 80 inch wide beam. So there's, and I'm looking at, making content and like fishing with people. So it was a really good fit. And I've got a 50 horsepower outboard on it, but I've considered getting into a jet for it. Just because like some of those river systems are kind of going, let's be honest, it's nice to not have to replace a prop.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was 3 days I owned that boat before I replaced my first prop.
Oh,
awesome. That said, tough. I haven't had to replace one since, knock on wood, but it's one of those things where I'm like, if I was going to make some kind of a major upgrade, that might be it. But like, it's dynamite, man.
It opens up your ability to fish different places for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll lose a little bit of power in that. It's like about 20% is what I believe the power loss is going to a jet drive. But it opens up water to fish that unless you have that type of boat, you really can't do it. Now, in my case, in the Susquehanna, anywhere mostly above Harrisburg in my area, anybody that's in this area will understand what I'm talking about. You really it's almost it's a necessity. You have to have it because you'll destroy your lower unit. And the Susquehanna is like one of the most rocky, tabletop sized boulders. Yeah. Submerged just under the surface type of places where I even in my setup take it very easy. You got to be careful. I mean, one specific time I've cracked a submerged rock in some dirty water with my jet foot, which only sits about that far below the surface, but you're just running stuff that a rock will be sitting 4 or 5 inches below the surface. You can't see, and you can still, do some damage. So I haven't had any major mishaps. I'm not flying, 35, 40 miles an hour down the river like some of these guys are. Oh, yeah. But you just have to read the water and do the best you can. But it opens up a whole world of different places to fish for sure.
No, absolutely, man. It's freaking awesome. So one of the things that I'm always curious about is like what people are listening to either while they fish. Like I listen to music a lot when I fish. I just, sometimes I like to just use it as a way to kind of set the mood. In fact, oddly, this recently I think just got debunked, but I think if I put Creed radio on my speaker, like something starts. Hey, it worked for me when I was out at Cape Cod, and it worked for me. That's when I discovered it. I was like, there might be something to this. And then when I was out fishing at St. Clair, I was just like, it was Easter Sunday, and I'm like, I think I know what the problem is. We fished for like 3 hours we fished for about 2 hours before my buddy Todd got his first bite. And then I was like, what is going on here? So we went and we found some structure that looked really good on the map. We headed out that way. And I'm like, there's something going on. As soon as I put Creed radio on and One Last Step started playing, I cast this drop shot out and I put a 7-inch yellow perch in the boat. I was like, what the hell? But then I'm out this last week. It was the last day of the tournament. And I'm like, Scott Stapp, you let me down. Because after I caught the pike that I needed for that tournament, that was it. That was it. It was like it just shut off. It was ridiculous. But I'm always interested, I know some folks don't always listen to music while they're on the water, but even on the way to the water, what are you listening to get hyped up? Like, what would be your intro song? That's the real thing. Man.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on my mood of the day, I would say, for sure. Like, I like country music for sure. Yep. But at the same time, like I go both ends. I go country music. I'm dad rock too. I'll throw Nickelback on there. I'll throw some Creed on there. I'll throw some Chris Daughtry on there. Like, so it just depends. But like I'll throw some Nickelback, Follow You Home on the way there. Like we'll go slamming down Route 15 to the river for sure. It just depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll listen to some country. It just depends, but I don't listen to much of anything on the water. For me, the time that I get to spend on the water is my solitude time away from the grind of the work. Because I always like to listen to music or to podcasts and stuff when I'm in the shop here. Oh, definitely. Working. And by the time I get out there, that is my only time that I will like put everything down and just be laser focused on actually doing what I love aside from building this stuff. Because it's really cool that I get to do this stuff all day and it's related to fishing, but I can still maintain that going out, and it's work related because I get a lot of content and stuff and marketing material. But at the same time, it's my ability to kind of let that stuff go for just a little bit and focus on being outside and chasing fish around. And I honestly don't listen to anything out there at all. Just, that the river current. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, hell yeah. Now, do you dabble at all in tournaments or competitive fishing, or?
I don't much, just my area. It's really not a whole lot of it. This area that I'm at, there's a little bit of river stuff here and there. Like I said, my boat's not perfect for that kind of thing. Like these guys will run miles and miles and through all this different crazy water that I just I'm not willing to do.
No, yeah.
With my setup, but I mostly just fish for fun, for enjoyment, and getting content and doing development on product.
Yeah,
that's mostly what I do.
No, it's definitely there's nothing wrong with that at all. I always like to mention that specifically tournaments because like I'm not a big competitive fishing guy. Like that's just not really my thing. But what I do to pay the bills is I'm a DJ and a game show host. So I love the idea of gamifying stuff just for like the additional engagement. So we started the Jigs and Bigs online tournament trail so that we could essentially kind of just engage with people that listen to the show and the YouTube content and everything that we produce, but actually go and fish and have something to be able to look at that's respective of our fishing experience on the water. And we came up with something I think you might really like because of some of the styles of fishing that you generally kind of are into. And that's the big one is the multi-species scavenger hunt series, which is an online tournament. It's catch, photo, release. So we've got a list of approved boards. They're all by catch. And you basically catch, one of the species off the list. And like a lot of people are like, oh, well, how'd you come up with the list? The list is like over 20 different species that are like the most popular sport fish species in America. So like our whole goal with this is to get people to kind of travel outside their comfort zones because you have a month to do it. You could say like I'll give you a perfect example. We don't have blue cats up here, but they're on the list. I could drive 4 or 6 hours anyway out from where I am and get into some blue cats. Same thing with like snakehead. We don't have snakehead up here, but last year I was just like, I'm going to send it. We'll see what we can do. It was like last weekend of the month. I got that point that I wouldn't have earned if I didn't travel outside my comfort zone. I was like, this is cool. And also like the anxiety of being like, what is this pit bull on the end of my freaking line?
Yeah, they're cool.
They're so cool. And, it's one of those fun little things. But yeah, something that you might want to take a look into because it's one of those ways where you can kind of check a little box. And after, I will tell you, after doing the Open, which is only 7 days, and the championship is 48 hours, the month is so relaxing and so nice because you're like, I've got 30 days to be able to like figure this out and go ahead and make it happen. It's a blast. So if you're into trout fishing and, maybe you don't fish for bass a whole lot, this is a great way to get into it. You've never caught a pike. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a cool concept. I like the idea of doing that. And is the goal there to check each one off of your list or is it biggest size of each individual?
So that's the best part is that the size of the fish, the total amount of inches never comes into play unless it is breaking a tie. So the goal, the primary goal is to catch, it's like Pokemon. Try to catch as many of those species as you can. So a lot of people look at the list and I think it's 23 right now. And we're actually considering adding some additional species and then a wild card segment where you could catch any freshwater species and submit it for an additional point as long as it's not on the list otherwise. So we're considering adding a little bit to it, but for the most part, I think it takes like 10 species to be competitive, 9 or 10 to be competitive. It takes like usually 13 or 14 to win it. I don't think anybody's ever gotten all 23. There's no, I know nobody's gotten all of them. It's crazy because, like lake trout is a good example. I don't know. Do you know anywhere near you where you can go and catch lake trout?
Not that I know. Yeah, there's things like that I would I would have no access to realistically.
And we have in Massachusetts, I can think of only one body of water that has them. And in order to go and fish that body of water, it's bank fishing only. So I got to go and hike my way in here. Hopefully I come across one. Maybe I don't. But like, it's this fun little strategy of like, well, I also need a smallmouth and I can catch smallies there. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to go and target the Lakers, but I'm also going to fish for smallmouth and see what we can come up with. And I'm going to look at, try and get some intel. And there's a lot of going online and looking at state managed maps and fish population studies to figure out where you can get into. But there's people that have reached out to me that are like, I have to drive 2 hours to go and catch that species of trout. And I'm like,
you've got a month to do it.
What's a 2-hour drive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some folks say that's what this is all about, is getting people to push their sort of push the journey a little bit further to kind of expand their area and expand their forte. And I do love, like, when I see like a catfish or a carp angler like John Hagens who sniped second place from me, going and catching like smallies. And I'm like, because that's not his forte normally,
Yeah.
And it's so cool. It's so cool. Or when I see people that are just like, I don't normally catch different species of catfish, and here we are, we're getting into this. So I don't know. It's pretty cool. I'm always curious because, fishing is, a lot of people talk about like, oh, professional angling, tournament fishing, and that's starting to change a little bit. I think with you can almost consider some like content creators professional anglers when they're doing this full time. I mean, really. And then there's like fishing guides. So there's different ways to be a professional angler where you're like, that's your bread and butter. But I think that the number of anglers that are not competitive is significantly higher than those who are.
Oh yeah. I've seen that for sure, because I think for a long period of time, a lot of people equated fishing with tournament fishing.
Yep.
And that's like such a small minority that gets so much attention.
Yeah.
And I've seen it as I got it more into this niche that I'm in, where I don't really target those folks as much specifically because so many people do that. And I've had so much success just, making products and making things available that are accessible for everyone, and just everybody that's just like me, that is going out and that's their place to enjoy themselves and have a good time, and they want to be successful out there.
Yeah.
And it's not always like screaming down the lake at 70 or going 70 miles an hour at 7 a.m. and, catching a couple fish for a Wednesday, Saturday tournament or Wednesday night or something like that. Yeah. And that's awesome. I totally support those guys, but I don't think that's, as big as it used to be, for one. And I don't think that's, where everybody is at. I think, the BFS stuff is growing. I think just the enjoyment of the sport as a whole is really where it's at right now, and where I'm seeing it moving forward, especially like with the stuff that you're doing, the scavenger hunts, and just people just enjoying fishing in its entirety, as opposed to being pigeonholed to one specific thing. In my case, I don't have as much time as I used to. So, getting out there and I like to try to have some success and also work that into business as well, and make the time valuable. So that's where I'm at with it.
One of the things that I have noticed, like on your site, so you have custom orders available. So if somebody's looking for something that's more customized, they can order that from you. What's the demand like for that? Or are people like, is that something people are jumping all over?
Yeah, it's pretty frequent. I mean, I make stuff, so many different options, that I always tell people, if you want something extremely specific, I can totally do that for you. And also just take a look at what all the options are on the site as well. But I do custom work, I would say probably almost every week, just people reaching out to me. It all depends on how interested or willing people are to interact with you specifically as a company and a business owner. But I talk to people all the time. I have so many different materials and things. From a like jig and wire bait perspective, it's way easier to do custom work. Yeah. And I do that really frequently with no like minimums or anything like that. That's cool. With the plastic side of it and my, injection machine that I use, that has to be more of like a commitment to do something specifically custom, because I have to, set that time aside to clear that machine out and get everything organized and ready to shoot just that color for you. So I still do it occasionally. Oh yeah. But the jigs and wire baits and stuff, I always say if there's something you're looking for, just get with me on it and we can try to make it happen. And my favorite ones are definitely like somebody has a general idea of what they want to see.
Yes.
And they let me run with that. And I love doing that kind of stuff because it breaks up the everyday kind of thing. And I make some really cool things out of that.
Yep.
And people really get a lot out of it. I think they get stuff that maybe they weren't even expecting it to be as cool as it was.
Yep.
I'm not as enthusiastic about like the tournament guy that needs 6 strands of silver and 4 strands of like that kind of stuff. I'm not super enthusiastic about that kind of thing because it can get a little frustrating at times, but I do my absolute best to accommodate when I can.
No, that's awesome. Now, the other follow-up, when it comes to customs, and you don't have to drop any names. I don't want you blowing up anybody's spot, but has anybody from that like upper tier tournament world reached out to you to say like, listen, I don't need these people knowing I'm throwing these smaller baits? Like,
I've had big names buy stuff, not custom work.
Okay. Okay. That's
like
good.
I've had guys like Cody Meyer order my micro jigs. He's been a big name for a long time. I've had quite a few people from MLF and Bass buy my micro jigs. I have the more tournament oriented stuff or the heavier versions of my micro jigs. So like the micro power jigs that have a heavier gauge hook in it.
Yep.
That tournament scene, they're not as much about the fun of catching the fish.
Of course, there's money on the line.
Bringing them in, they're just like, they're trying to jack them and swing them in there for money as quick as possible. So that type of stuff is more geared towards that. So I've had some of those, but as far as like the custom stuff, not a whole lot of that. I have so many options though, that I think some of those guys, you can see how many options there are and you're going to find one that is going to work and it isn't going to be a mainstream thing that you buy online anyway. So that works for that.
That's freaking awesome, man. That is unbelievable. Well, I mean, Corey, this is absolutely fantastic, dude. This is really great. I think you have a really good thing going over there, and you're definitely going to be getting more of my money for sure. And I'm sure some of our listeners, because I have not been able to shut up. In fact, I think there's like 3 YouTube videos where I grab your logo and it just pops in because I'm talking about the HH Customs Guppy or I'm talking about the Koosh Ball. And this is just one of those things where I'm like, when I find a product that I'm stoked about, and especially when it's a domestic, smaller company, I'm going to sing it from the friggin' rooftops. You know what I mean? And it's badass. I love what you're doing. Do us a favor. If you want to give like any shout outs to any of your big supporters or anything like that, or say hello to anybody, this is your opportunity. Let folks know where they can find you if they're interested in checking out some of your wares and also all your socials and stuff. Go ahead, promote yourself a little bit too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, HH Custom Baits. Website is hhcustombaitsllc.com. We do almost all of our business straight through the website there. Plastics you can order and we'll ship them out straight away because we keep inventory. The jigs and wire baits and stuff, we have a little bit of a wait time just to build exactly what you want. So we're easy to find there. If you're talking to the business, any of the accounts, you're talking to me directly. I really pride myself on working with people as much as I can, making things as easy as possible. I'm really easy to get a hold of. I'm up really late most of the time, so you can message me whenever you need to. And I will help you and work with you there. People that have helped me along the way, for sure, thank you for having me on the show here today. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to maybe if you want some custom stuff or anything like that, we'll definitely hook you up and get you some swag and things too. But Dark Horse has given me a little bit of a platform with their audience as well. So I really appreciate those guys for doing business with me. And Clinton Bruning down in Texas, he has a BFS-oriented YouTube channel, and he's helped me quite a bit. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Clinton.
I've definitely seen that name come up.
I'm not sure if you've seen him on I tag him all the time, put his stories up and everything.
Might have been.
But he does some really, really cool stuff with BFS too, and he's helped me quite a bit in exposing how big fish you can catch with bait finesse system for sure, because him being down in Texas, he has a lot more access to bigger fish than I do. But like he just caught one over 9 pounds on the microblade, the Koosh Ball microblade fire crawl.
That's
in
awesome.
Early spring, and he catches giants on the Cyclops and the microblade mostly is what he likes to throw a lot of the time. But yeah, Clinton, check him out. His YouTube channel continues to grow, And I'm always open to looking for new content creators that make really good quality videos and content to work with. I'm interested in working with guys like Clinton and doing those types of things, because I think there's just a ton of value in those guys, and I really like what they're doing, as opposed to just throwing it at, say, like a tournament organization or something like that. Yeah. I do that. I do work with Smalley Chaser River Bassin. They have a smallmouth series, so I have done some stuff with them this year. So nice. Check them out too. But I would say that's about it. I don't go too heavy into throwing sponsorships everywhere at big tournament crowds and stuff like that. But I love working with guys like me. So if that's something that you're interested in and you make good quality content, you can always reach out to me too and talk about working together. For sure, man. That's awesome. Well, Corey, this was great, dude. I am so glad we had you on. Congratulations again on the new arrival. Thank you. That's freaking so cool. This interview is going to actually drop on Tuesday's episode. So after this weekend, it'll drop, and that's going to be a doozy of an episode, because we have a nationwide slot limit tournament, which I'm sure you got a bunch of stuff on your hands going, but if you want to get in on this tournament, you can do it Saturday, the 31st, and it's an 8-hour window, and it's 12-inch to 17-inch black bass that qualify, average size fish. So this is cool because somebody further up north, like we are, we can compete with somebody that's in Texas or Florida. That's always tough, because they'll come back with a 23-inch and you're like, exactly. You're like, okay, well, that's no good. Thanks for that. But and it's also a little bit of a challenge too down south, because there's a lot of folks out there that'll catch 18s all day long, and they're like, I can't not catch one this size. So you gotta pick your lake. I think that's the biggest challenge, is pick your lake. And I have a bad tendency of traveling on the dates of these tournaments. So like, I'm fishing bodies of water I've never fished before, or places where they're just known as a big fish fishery. And I'm like, all right, dummy, here we go. So I just lose constantly, but I'm here for the chase. That's what it's all about. But man, this was so great. Do me a favor and send me over a picture of you holding an absolute tank. And we're going to use that on the cover artwork of the show. Even better, if you want to send a picture of you holding your new son, that might be your best catch this year, potentially. And we're going to throw your logo up as well on the artwork too. So send that on over. We'll get you all set up and ready to go, man. Appreciate you, dude. All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. All righty, man. You have a great one. We will be in touch. All right. Take care, bud. Thanks. All righty. Bye-bye. Take care, man.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
All right, guys, here we are. It's Live Well time, and we should change that intro. So instead of your burning questions, it could say
Eli's
burning questions, because Eli is hands down the number one caller for the Live Well, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it because he asks good questions that get people thinking, and I like it very, very much. Let's go ahead and take a gander and listen to this first question from Eli. And it's a short one, and it's a little bit of a follow-up.
Hey, Eli, again, another question if somebody hasn't called this one in already. But what are the top 3 new school baits that are falling off as of recently? All right. Yep.
Ooh, I like that one. Top 3 new school baits that are falling off as of recently.
I feel like
I got a good one for this.
You got go. You want to go 1-to-1 back and forth like that?
Let's go 1-to-1.
Okay.
I think the Whopper Plop is starting to die.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. I think the second you start getting something that was like looked at as so innovative, and then you start to see other like iterations or like different takes on stuff.
Where they fucked up is they didn't patent the design.
Yeah, that'll fucking get you.
So prop baits are still like that one. I just grabbed another one from Zach and Josh recently. Oh my God, he's going to kick my ass for forgetting the name of it again.
I want to say it's like an anchor.
The one with, oh shit. Zach, help me out here.
Starts with an
What the hell's the name of that one? Anthem baits.
Anthem that's
baits.
What it is.
Anthem baits. Dude, that thing, I fucking love that bait, dude. Like we had stripers going for that thing like crazy.
Oh yeah,
down at West Point. Yeah, it's cool because it's like it's a prop bait, but it has that but it sounds more like a it emits a sound more like a buzz bait.
Yes. Yep.
So
like one of the things that I love about that prop bait is that it does what I think those more niche bait makers are one of their biggest strengths is that it takes what was reasonably decent, reasonably good, and it engineers the shit out of it. So you look at companies like Anthem, or you look at a company like Sack Pig, and these baits, like the fact that prop bait has a rotating wire line tie. That bait does not
never rolls on itself.
It is amazing for that. Now the blade is unique. You know,
I do deal though. I wish they would make a smaller version of it.
Yeah,
because she's a big bitch.
Yep, she is. I actually gifted the one that I got in my box to Paul because he throws ploppers. Dude, he'll throw a plopper in November.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't care. That's his thing. He's a whopping and a plopping, and yeah, dude, they were pretty badass. They are very.
So, What's yours?
Bladed jig.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, bladed jig. And
I think you're right.
And I think that it just kind of it became like. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, nobody's throwing them or anything like that, but the amount of times where I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to throw a bladed jig because this is what's going on. When I'm fishing with a lot of other folks, they're just like, huh, okay. You know, or like they just kind of like stay away. I think the bladed jig is definitely on there. It might be like there might be a renaissance. I think there might be a renaissance coming because I use the shit on bladed jigs now.
Yeah,
but
it's one of those
sizes.
baits where the people who know how to use them correctly are going to continue to use them.
Yeah. Yep.
But the hype of like everybody who watched, I think it was Hank Cherry who won, whatever off the red one there. And I remember that thing was going for like $250 on eBay.
Yep.
The red jackhammer there. After I think it was Hank Cherry that won it, but yeah, dude, it was yeah, I could definitely. I'll always have one. I'll always have one tied on. But for me, fire crawl, that's right. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But for me, I tend to, before I go to a blade jig, I go to a spinner bait. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I got another one that's gonna make some people. You ready?
Yeah.
Big swim baits.
You think big swim baits are starting to fall out?
I think that whole hype has hit its peak. I think it's it definitely plateaued for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think the hype is quite as big as it was.
Yeah,
I knew Bogley was coming. It's a hot take, dude. That's just what I think. So it's funny because like I have been throwing them more. I'm still not super comfortable with them, but I do throw them more. But I think that like crazy big swim bait culture is kind of dying down a little bit.
I think that, yeah, and it's funny that's the right like way to look at it, like that big swim bait culture. And I mean, again, like we're looking at this from a slice of like the social media people and channels that we follow, but also like the people that we know like around here. So I think maybe in like New England we're seeing this change, but whereas in like certain other parts of the country it might be a whole different beast.
100%.
You can
100%.
never say like a presentation, like if they're making it, someone's going to be throwing it,
Sure. Sure.
It's just the way it is. But I think that like what we're talking about here is like that huge hype where everybody's just like, oh, I got to throw this. I'm going to go throw this. But I could definitely see big swim baits. I could 100% see that. Let's see. If I had to pick one, I don't think that my thing is I'm trying to think of like what was a really, really big buzz.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know.
I'll go ahead and say, I think maybe the Ned rig, you know, the traditional Ned rig, the open hook that
definitely around here, around here.
And it still performs. You know what I mean? It 100% does. I caught a couple of good ones.
I don't even think I have one tied up right now.
Yeah.
And I used to like all the time, you know, and you know what I go to before a Ned rig now is I'll just go to a drop shot.
See, I oftentimes will.
Or a tube.
Yeah. I could see, because again, like in this, if you watch that jig tips video, I talk about this. I'm like, finesse jig, Ned rig, traditional bass jig. What you're doing is you're taking a hook that's got a weight molded to it and you're dressing it somehow. And there are different things for different jobs. And I think when you look at that, but I feel like that there was a Ned rig buzz where it was either, and it was one of two ways. It was either like, dude, the Ned rig fucking slays it. Or it was a, well, when nothing's working, we're going to throw the Ned. Or it was the other opposite.
I hate that fucking Ned rig.
But it catches fish. You know what I mean? So, like, I just think that the buzz, I think it's just kind of become something that people, like, will have on hand or not.
And the crazy part is 99% of the people that are like, oh, the Ned rig slays, don't even fish the Ned rig the way it was meant to fish.
Yeah.
Like, a 1/4 ounce fucking Ned hook is not a Ned rig.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, that profile is called a Ned rig, but I would say, you know, people titled the profile the Ned rig when it was actually a technique.
Yes.
Versus the profile.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, you know, it got very confused.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, they do catch, but the problem is like, especially like, dude, you would kill it with a Ned rig on a BFS rig.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, it's like, it's my last like ditch effort go to like for tournament fishing. I know like if I'm not catching anything, like, yeah, I might throw a Ned rig on because I know I'm going to catch 1,000 dinks to one okay fish.
Yeah. And
it's probably going to be crappie, rock bass, fucking whatever. And then like I might get a bass.
Yeah. It's just, and it's only because I think that, and I'm doing this off the top of my head. So like
same.
I think for me, it's just that like, it was such a buzz. Well, either you loved it or you hated it, but now it's kind of just become a thing. Like, I'll be honest with you, like I don't throw a drop shot anymore that doesn't have a Ned tied at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because,
okay. Yeah.
Like now it's kind of morphed into something where it's like I have something going that's always that can do multiple things, you know? And if there's a fish that's going to bite my drop shot weight, I want there to be a hook buried in it, you know?
Sure.
So,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. What about you? What's your third one?
My last one, I think, would be, and it kind of came, someone mentioned here, it's those like, there was a buzz a bit for like those wild like creature baits. And what I say, I'm not talking like soft plastics. I'm talking about like, remember like the spider, the snake, even like the rat, like someone mentioned.
Yeah. Okay.
Those, I feel like those are kind of like, remember they had the fucking spider that was like a big hype for a while, the duck, the fucking all that shit.
Yeah.
I think that hype is has really gone away. The rat, I mean, once fucking whatchamacallit stopped making that fucking rat, and it was gone for you know what, I can't think of it right now. Who the fuck was making that rat, Bobby?
Spro.
Oh yeah, the Spro rat. Yeah, the Spro rat. I remember I looked for a Morning Dawn Spro rat for Sean the Fisherman for fucking months.
Oh,
after
man.
They got discontinued.
I got a fucking 50 in my swim bait box.
So it's, I think that shit, I think that's kind of, I have some, I don't have any tied on. I'd rather throw a prop bait.
That is one that I really like, is like that big wake bait, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a rat. You know, I mean,
sure.
Probably my favorite, like big wake bait rather, is the Bruce Gillis, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's just a big, a giant fucking pumpkin seed. You know what I mean? It's huge.
Yep.
And and there's a time and a place. I had a great day on the Sack Pig Traveler, the mini Traveler, last year. I mean, it's. And when I had Michael from Sack Pig on, we talked about it. He was like, dude, he's like, it's something you should be throwing all the time because it'll perform. And I'm like, you know, it's one of those things where I treat a lot of things very situationally. And I'm going to get to Eli's question over here. But I treat a lot of baits very like situationally. So I could go ahead and I could say, maybe that's what I would say specifically. No. Let me see. What can I think of? What was another big buzz that people kind of went nuts with? I mean, I think you nailed it with the Whopper Plopper for sure. 100%. Something that was a buzz that people are.
I'm trying to think of something that
I don't know.
Again, I already mentioned it. Like I remember even with like bull gills, dude. Like you know, it's a bull shad. Like I couldn't keep those things on the shelves when I had them, and now I don't feel like it's that bad anymore.
Yeah, like it's the rush, the need to have that. Yeah, I could.
Dude, I would get those in and they'd be out by the weekend. You know what I mean? Like the full wall would be gone.
No, I could definitely see that. I would probably say, I don't know that I can necessarily pick a third because I can't think of something else that was like such a buzz where everybody had it. But I do. I want to speak to the like I said, using things situationally. Eli says, out of all the jigs, which jig is not necessary? Arky, football, or swim jig? Oh man, that is a loaded question right there, Eli.
Ooh, I don't think I can answer that one because for me, they all have a place.
Yeah, they definitely do. Now, but I think that a lot of it is situational. That's
it. That's exactly that's exactly what it is.
I will say, depending on the Arky jig, right, you can do a lot with that. Now, there are things that will work better, like in rocks, a football head, if you're, dragging it across like a rocky bottom or something, is less likely to get hung up because it's got a wider shaped head. So it's not going to sink into that. It doesn't come to like a point. And a swim jig traditionally has more of a fine point and generally has a vertical line tie so that it can go right through grass is the idea. But I think I will say this. It's probably not the answer you're looking for, Eli, but I think that out of those three jigs, you just get an Arky jig and you're good to go. Because an Arky is going to be able to do the vast majority of it. Like you could throw a swim bait on an Arky jig. In fact, I'm going to show you. I have, let me show you a color. Oh, you know what? I have one right here that's actually got a swim bait on it. So this is an Arky style head right here. This is from leadfreebassjigs.com. This is an original Jigs and Bigs jig kit jig right here. And this is a jig he doesn't carry anymore. It's called a rocker jig, and it's got almost like an O'Shaughnessy style hook. Very, very unique style hook on this. I'll get another one. Another one so I can show you guys the hook with the fucking, this is how old these are. The fucking bands are on the skirts fucking falling off. You can see that the hook is a little bit more of a unique sort of shape. And I love that hook. But the way that this head sits in with the relationship to that hook, like putting a swim bait on the back, boom, it's a swim jig. You want to flip it into heavy cover? It's still got that heavy weed guard. It can still do a lot. So I think like an Arky jig is just a great place to start when you're like, oh, okay, as far as jigs. Now, in my video, I talk about the huge relationship of what a jig is and what that can actually mean. There's so much to take into consideration because at the end of the day, that's all a jig is a hook with a weight molded to it that you dress with something, that's freaking badass. Let's see what we got. So Eli goes if I'm taking a jig box, what jig can I get away with not bringing? That's going to depend on the body of water, I think I don't have many football head jigs. I just don't. I don't know why. I don't fish a ton of rocks specifically, but yeah, I don't have a lot of those. But yeah, I mean, that's generally like the three that you could look at. Swim jigs are a whole other animal. They really are. They're intended to do something completely different. Yeah, I'm with Todd right there. I don't use football as much. I would say your best bet is to go with an Arky, like all around. And then, then that way, like if you're like, oh, I'll get a couple of football heads. Now I will say like a wobble football head jig is a whole other ball game, because you do fish that on the bottom and you're basically running it like a bottom contact crankbait. You're just reeling it slow and letting it just fucking do its thing and buckle up when it gets bit. Buckle the fuck up. We have yet one other call from Eli. This one is another interesting one. Let's go ahead. We'll take a listen and we'll answer this question.
Hey, Eli, again, got another question. What is the lure that started you into fishing? So I don't know if you guys remember that, but what is the lure that got you into fishing? For me, it is the Ike bass worm, pre-rigged worm. You'd either tie to like a snap, and then it would have a loop knot that you would connect it to. But that was the one that got me into fishing through that. Honestly, probably up until college, until I realized how little I knew about bass fishing. Still a solid worm, but I probably haven't touched that in a few years. Okay, what is that new lure, or that old lure that got you into fishing?
I know exactly what mine is. It's a River to Sea Ish Monroe Big Papa. It's a big square bill.
Ah, okay.
It's a big square bill. I was fishing it on the wrong combo. It was like an eagle claw, like 6'6", like medium, like super whippy, fucking ridiculous. And I was fishing this one little like one just hole. It was ridiculous. There's this one pond that has a dam, and off of this dam the spillway comes down and it just kind of dumps into this like sort of empty sort of like canyon, and there's a dirt road that goes over with a bridge, and people used to fish here all the time. Now if you go over there you get your ass shot. I'm pretty sure that they're growing illegal cannabis over there. I'm not sure. But I go over and I throw this, and I'm just like, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm just whipping it around, and I hooked up with my first bass. In fact, I could probably dig up the picture and put it on there. Like it was 2013, 2014, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. That was for me. It was a square bill, and I was like, I'm a crankbait guy. Which is hilarious because I am the furthest thing from a crankbait guy. Furthest thing.
Yeah.
What about yours, Joe?
Dude, white rooster tail with a silver blade.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, back when my grandfather gave me those back with fishing the Spencer Fishing Game Club when I was like 5-6 years old, visiting up. I'm going
to show you guys something. Sit tight.
Okay. So yeah, white rooster tail. And then like when I got into like bass fishing, when I got a little bit older, all my dad would show me how to rig. A rig for me was just a Texas rigged like ribbon tail worm, like curly tail worm. That was it. And jitterbug. I remember throwing my first top water bass was a jitterbug. Now that I remember. Well, Bobby can't find what he's looking for.
Yeah, I can't find it. So my father actually gave me this lure a little while ago.
Yep.
And I say this might be the one that got me like just interested in fishing tackle, period. It was a small crawler. It was probably like a 3-inch crawler.
Yeah.
And it was a black and silver skeleton pattern of a bat. And it was
of a what?
Of a bat.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And my dad, he had it in his tackle box, like one of these giant plastic Plano tackle box with like several drawers that came out either way. And he had so much tackle, but the thing is, he never used much of that tackle. Like he really never did.
Oh yeah, my dad was the same way.
Yeah, I was like, he was just like, I don't know, we'll try. I don't know, and he never used it. And he gave it to me a few years ago. I have it down here because I want to put together like a shadow box of like old lures, and that's definitely one that I want to have in there. But yeah, it was that's freaking nuts. We got a couple of good ones. Jitterbugs in there. That's Jesus. Who's a big fan of that? I want to say Matt Thayer's a big fan of the jitterbugs.
Yeah, I have one up on my shelf. It's not like in my tackle box or anything, or in my gear.
I had a couple years ago. We did a like a Yankee swap at like this cousin's like Christmas get together that we have, and we picked names. And one of my cousins had put together this little gift basket of like random lures and fishing themed stuff. Like this bottle opener was in there. Pretty badass. But there was a 3-pack of various Arbogast topwater lures that I didn't even know that they made anymore. So there was a hula popper in there. There was a jitterbug in there and something else too. I've got that lying around, and I don't think that's something I'm going to like use necessarily, but I'm a little bit geeky, and like eventually there's going to be a legit full like display of stuff. Like there will be a real Jigs and Big studio, guys, someday, and all of this stuff is going to be in there. You're going to be like,
what is this Chili's?
You know, like all the flair everywhere. It's going to be like that, but it's just going to be a bunch of old gear and like, you know, models of gear and stuff. Oh, this was the butcher just sent this to me via text. He's like, the bait that got him into fishing the first time was this guy right there. That's the one. He was hook, line, and sinker. Line, and sinker right there. My God.
He always wet the line from the wrong end.
He did. It was very, very weird. I love that, man. Yeah, that is freaking nuts. That's a pretty good live well. I think that's pretty damn good. I like the bait conversations because it gets you thinking about different stuff that maybe you just like. So oftentimes we get, you know, we get into this mode where we're just like throwing the same kind of stuff because we're like, well, this has been working for me and conditions are lined up this way. And we start to lose a little bit of scope, but it's nice to dabble, you know? Maybe not when there's like money on the line and shit, but
I have definitely used less, a less broad like spectrum this year. I've noticed. I've been doing a lot more like spinning like gear shit than I have casting gear stuff, I've noticed.
And I have been, it's so funny. Like I find that, you know, I do throw a lot of the BF bait finesse stuff. A lot of the time, just it's so fun. Yeah. But on top of that, like there are instances where I'm just like, nope, I need to elicit a bigger bite. So I need to upsize this or you know, have a different sort of a plan of attack or something. And man, it's fun. Jeff was throwing around a curly tail grub. That was a plastic that I was like, this thing is invincible because it's like a Ned, but it's like a Ned with a little bit of tail at the end, a little bit of action, you know? And I mean, like, oh, goodness. I love it. What a great show. This is absolutely fantastic. I can't believe we've got the amount of,
was a good one.
Of folks in here. Like, it was a roller coaster ride, but it was a fantastic show. I got to go and I got to edit this thing. I got to make some dinner. And then I've got a lot of stuff that I got to go and make happen. Oh, John Higgins goes, I use spoons to crush hybrid stripers. I just came across a company that their bread and butter is hand-painted spoons. And some of these things look so friggin' good. And you know Bobby Roast Beef loves to go bait finesse trout fishing. And I might have to mess around with that. I might have to go ahead and do that. Because, man, and these things are gorgeous. Like, gorgeous. I actually reached out to them to see about having them on the show. Because I'm like, spoons is really specific. You know?
Yeah, sure.
It really is. But I'm like, that's pretty badass. I don't know, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap this sucker up. I got editing to do. Joe, do you have anything you want to throw in here before we wrap up?
No, that's it. Good show. Had fun with this one. Go check out our YouTubes. New videos dropping.
Go follow all the socials, guys. American Vet Fishing, Jigs and Bigs. We're all over the place. I am doing a giveaway, and I'm going to do... what's up?
Do us both a favor.
Yeah.
if you're watching the video, just please subscribe.
Yeah,
I'm so sick of having more views than I have subscribers. Please just hit the subscribe button.
It's a good
Turn off
feeling.
the notifications if you don't want to know I did a new video.
Yeah. Although the notifications are kind of fun. I kind of like having a notification when there's new stuff. But yeah, go follow all of our stuff, guys. As always, a bunch of you guys are absolute like heroes when it comes to it. Tag us in your fish pics so that we can show you a little bit of love in the social media world. Give you a like, give you a share, throw some comments, and try and help you engage a little bit. As always, though, don't be a racist prick when you're out there on the water. Do the best that you can. Leave that shit in the fucking 50s and fucking we'll evolve a little bit. I think that'll be fantastic. Let's just go ahead. We'll wrap this sucker up and say it. All right, like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.